They will love
No,
to see it.
we
They're just
almost had
waiting
a
to see
Portal
when it will
discussion.
come out and how cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we almost had on Wednesday night's Legends and Lore, the 200th. Yeah, so absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, everyone was like, I can't wait. Roger's the person to ask. I said, well, Roger's going to be around on Sunday, so
Yep.
that'll be good. Definitely. All right, let me make sure I'm good here of everything.
I'm going to apologize ahead of time, but digging out the cat litter drives my sinuses wild.
Oh, that's okay.
That happens. Yep.
Oh, yes. Oh, I finished a bunch of articles.
Oh, wow.
4 of them, actually. I'm working on a 5th one right now.
That's fantastic.
So I'm running 2 separate series for him. One on the gates of Greyhawk and one on Yarth. Actually more about Gary Gygax's continuum of parallel worlds from North to Earth that he talked about 40 years ago in a minor article in a little tiny magazine that everybody has been mining for data ever since. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, that actually turned out to be a lot of fun. That was a big surprise to me. So
yeah,
I have to have my Gatorade. So, I'm
good. Stocked up here on.
Yeah, how are you all doing?
Good.
Good. Yep. Yeah, got my grocery shopping done today, and now I'm starting to. I'm leaving for Europe in 1 month. I'm going to be in Sweden and a few other places around for a month. So
excellent.
I'm setting up all of what I because I will be constrained with my laptop for the most part. So during the stay. So now I'm figuring out what I need to do before I leave and what I can concentrate on what I'm working over there, so to speak. So.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
What map projects you've been working on?
I'm working on Earth 2.0, and I'm also working on a map for Blue Box. It's his version of Sea of Death for his Greyhawk Awakening project. That's one I'm working on Altamira for Trollon Games with Jay. So that one I'm working on, and I'm also doing the south mapping the Southlands for my own game, so to speak. And I'm also starting to work on banners and flags project. So that was I've just released the first kind of sketch and the first test to my patrons, and they really liked it. So to my top patrons. So that is coming because they really like the idea. So meaning we have done heraldry and stuff, but what do the banners and flags and stuff look like from various countries? So that's when I'm working on a concept for like not a super detail, but a way of illustrating, so you can see, okay, it's on the battlefield. What banners and flags and stuff do they use? Like a big one.
I like that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah.
So those are some of the things that I'm working on it currently.
I used to be into painting miniatures like everybody, but I would buy booklets that would show like all the flags used during the First World War and all the unit insignias and all that kind of thing from different countries. It was very exciting. It was a lot of fun to get into.
Yep. So I thought about illustrating stuff like that and it's about setting, not only doing a fancy result, but I want to set up a workflow so I can effectively, because there is like 100 realms, or if you count provinces and stuff, probably about 150. So in order to not take 10 years and 5,000 hours to do them, so I need to have a method of getting a decent result fairly quickly, so I can kind of sketch it out and get it done. But and update them and stuff. So yep. But I still want each of them to look kind of a little bit unique, so they should not be cookie cutter copies. So that's the idea.
Yeah, that is the challenge.
And I'm also digitizing. I'm putting my existing Greyhawk and Hepmonaland map into GIS. So I've been geo-referencing all the stuff that I've done so far into GIS. So I have geo-referenced all the terrain maps. So I know where the Flannies is on the globe now, and Hepmonaland. And now I'm going to, that's one of the things I think I can do on my laptop, to start putting all the towns and villages and cities and borders and roads and stuff into GIS as well. So that's another several hundred hours to get all that in there. But once it's in, you can do a lot of magic with it. So that's that's one. Simply move up the technology chain, so to speak. So do a bunch of cool stuff that way.
Excellent. Oh, Jay, what have you been up to?
Yeah.
It was my son's birthday this week, so I had a light streaming week. Just did it Wednesday night and tonight. He got an award at school on Thursday night. It was a lot of.
I saw that.
A lot of family stuff. So,
It's been a light week for you too.
Well, coming up.
Comparatively.
Comparative. I got 4 this week, and then 4 the next week, and I got. I will announce I got one of the things I was talking about. Landing, it's done, but it's not out. It's out for a month. Yes, it's going to be on a Sunday night. It was either going to be a Wednesday or Sunday. It's going to be a Sunday. Oh, I haven't told you even yet on this one, so Anna. So
cool.
Little surprise.
Yeah.
For you.
Awesome. Yep.
Yeah.
Trollord Games. Join the fray.
Big giveaways tonight, everyone, for Trollord Games. We got like 5 tonight. So, what's up, Katana?
This will be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh.
I'm sure we get lots of good questions. Yeah, there's so many awesome people in the audience already. So yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Thank you. Yep, fifth anniversary. She started streaming.
Yay!
Yes.
Well, I'm very glad I could be here.
Well,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
my pleasure.
Well, that is
I
excellent.
usually don't celebrate these anniversaries, but 5 is a big one, I guess. So
Yeah,
I didn't celebrate the first 4. So yeah, good to see you, Lando. Let me see what else we got here. I think I'm set now.
Yeah, I've opened my Evernote a bit, logged into chat and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, going so fast, Katana. You ain't kidding, man. You are not kidding.
It's kind of a jubilee anniversary week we had, but first Legends and Lore and now 5-year streaming anniversary. So it's 100 episodes.
Yeah, the 100th
episodes.
adventure is coming on June 3rd,
Yeah.
so
Or the 1000th adventure.
1000th, what am I saying?
Yeah.
1000th adventure.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, John.
Seriously.
I know you got your other game on. It's all good, man. Yeah, it's our
Outstanding.
1000th adventure in my campaign. I started for some reason, Roger, when I was 12 or 13, I wrote, started a real campaign in Greyhawk. I wrote every adventure down. What was that one?
Wow.
Yeah, it comes out. And so I know we're on, where we are. I mean, every single one.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I had my first Greyhawk game when I was 18, I think. Yeah, and I didn't write anything down the first 3-4 years. And then it was kind of hazy beginnings in that sense.
Nice, Blue. Good to hear that you're going to be there. That's cool. I wish I could be there. I can't do that. I can't do extra con. I kind of am committed. I shouldn't let the cat out of the bag on this one, but I will. Come on, really. I kind of committed to go because Trollord Games says we're going to have a con next year. I'm kind of committed to going to it. So,
Yeah.
Gabby Con, which could be
The Reaper and Trollord will get you to lots of cons eventually. Yeah.
nice. That's cool.
I was going to say I started gaming in 1978 at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, when I was just in the Army. And we didn't have Greyhawk. We were using Judges Guild stuff. So we had City State. City State.
Which one do you have?
Invincible Overlord. We didn't use the World Emperor. Everybody bought it, but nobody used it. Everybody would you'd buy it and then you'd sit and look at it. That was what most of them.
None of the locations were filled in on that, but on the Invincible Overlord they were, and it made it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
But I was going to say a lot of the gaming content I've never really used properly, but it still inspired me, and I've read through a lot of it, like a lot of Forgotten Realms stuff and so on, and I kind of still read it in other game systems and books. So even if I don't use it directly, it's still there inspiring me. Yeah.
Yes. It was funny. I was mentioning that I was telling you, Anna, that when we were at GaryCon, Alyssa was talking about Tegel Manor, because she had done the artwork for it. And I was flabbergasted because nobody had said the words Tegel Manor to me in about 40 years. So,
I pronounce
sorry,
it
Will.
Teejul.
There you got some
Hold on.
cats, kitties. Yep.
I pronounce it Teejul. So if I'm pronouncing it wrong,
Or Tegel, or
That's
yeah,
me.
but yeah, it's I've heard many
Always
different
me.
pronunciations. So yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right.
You got
She
it,
fell
yeah.
off the table and got tangled up in my wire. But what she said, Tegel Manor, and I just about fell out of my chair. I said, "Oh my God, nobody has said Tegel Manor to me in 40 years." And I had to know. I immediately wrote to her and found out, like, well, what in the world are you doing? You got to understand, this is intense. This is intense for me, as a gamer. And oh my God, I can't believe it's still around. It's just like,
yeah,
oh,
and it
you've
was
got to be
written
kidding.
by Frog God in 5th edition, I think.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah,
That was
she did a
the
whole map for it.
my shortest adventure ever, which I had a winged elf that was a thief, and it didn't even get within sighting distance of Tegel Manor when she got shot by a goblin arrow, and died. And the DM wouldn't let me bring another character in, so I went through the next 2 hours with nothing to do. It was just whatever. My shortest adventure in all history was in Tegel Manor. I used to run it later, and everybody, was fighting liches and stuff like this. One room had a skeleton, the next room had, a vampire lich, and you just didn't know what in the world you were getting into.
But that was the charm of it. That was the charm of this. And my favorite Stark Tower of all the countries in the games by far. I love it's on my wall of fame. I love Dark Tower. Love it.
I
It's
never
so hard.
played Dark Tower. I kept seeing it, but we were involved in another campaign, and I never got to it. I was so upset because I heard all about it later, and I was like,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
such a great adventure. If I could do that in 8 hours, I would have run that one probably for our 1,000th, but it's so long. Can't do it. You can't.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm running.
all of Janelle's artwork and everything. I was just like, oh God. Or am I thinking of Duck Tower now? I don't know. So,
All right. We're a little early, but who cares, right? 5th year anniversary. It's insane, everyone. Thank you. I don't know where the time has gone. And let me tell you something. Our first ones, I may have had 3 people watching. It's like a long time ago, but we tied that in, and I already set the giveaway up for Troller Games. And by the way, welcome Roger Moore back. Roger will be coming on a lot more. We'll have him as a guest or an expert in a lot of things. And tonight we're gonna pick Roger's brain on a lot of things. Myself and Anna, and just have fun with this discussion tonight.
baby.
Maybe have fun.
No, somebody's trying to walk over my keyboard.
The cat.
That's awesome.
If you
That's so
disappear,
cute.
we'll know that the cats did it for you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, if they knock everything off the table, you'll know what happened.
It's okay. That's all right. I guess I'll have a cat rubbing up against me. So, Roger, welcome back. It's good to see you.
Thank you very much.
So tonight, our great sponsor, Troller Games, has given me 5 giveaways for my 5th year anniversary, and I'll talk about these multiple times. There's 2 $15 gift certificates. There's a $25 gift certificate. There's a $50 gift certificate. And there's a player's handbook signed by Stephen Chenault, hard copy. So there you go for tonight. So we got 5 Troller Game giveaways for the Space Hamster mode. I will not have a Space Hamster mode. Sorry. I love Go for the Eyes, Boo, but it's just like a lot of stuff. It's overplayed, right? Too
No, space hamsters. They're everything.
I love space hamsters.
Yeah, the giant miniature space hamster or something. Yeah.
Yes.
Boo.
The miniature giant space hamster.
Yeah,
I can't remember. Whatever.
It was a great
yeah.
novel thing when Baldur's Gate 2 came out, right? Minsk and Boo and all. And guys, look at that. 56 months. Almost there for the entire time. Now remember, the first 2 months we streamed, we weren't even affiliates. Because I was just figuring out what to do. And it was a lot tougher to become an affiliate back then. So now, wow, dude, 56 months. It's great to see. Oh, Katano, holy schmolies, dude. Thanks. Thank you. Really, well, this is going to be running for a while. So, it's really kind. Thank you. So, we get those 5 great giveaways. But yeah, space hamsters. I love stuff. I just don't like it overdone, right? I don't need it everywhere.
How's that possible? I don't get it.
Well, so we have the card game. We have the D&D card game. It came out a couple years ago for younger kids. My son loves it, and there's like booze attacking in that too. He's everywhere, right? He's all over the place, but that's okay. It's all good. So Roger, I know you got a lot going on here, a lot of writing and stuff, and we're going to ask some questions of Roger. We're just going to have fun on this discussion tonight. Please feel free to ask questions yourself. Wow, we're already at level 4. Thank you, Katano. That was really kind. I'm going to ask one right off the bat, and I know a lot of our hardcores like Gary Julian and all aren't on yet, but that's okay. So I'm going to ask just bluntly, and if you're like, you don't want to get into politics of it, it's fine. What do you think of the whole Philidor the Blue thing?
Give me some backstory. I used to know this a lot better than I do now.
So that was the toughest question I've ever heard you ask any guest.
No, so, give me some backstory.
All right, Carl Sargent does From the Ashes and does all this stuff, and then in there, this wizard Philidor the Blue appears out of nowhere. No one knows anything about him, and he's like, "Oh, he's a puller of strings. He's this guy behind the scene." He appeared 1 year after the Pact of Greyhawk was signed. And then he appears as an elf in the Vespi, and then it says right at the very end, and From the Ashes goes, "Maybe we'll tell you more about him later." ... And then that's it. We don't hear anything. So I was just curious. I know you tried to fix a lot to make Greyhawk playable in that 2.5 era. I was just wondering if you thought that Philidor was none of those things. It was like, we don't have to turn everything into Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I didn't deal with that one a lot. I remember now. I figured the best thing to do is to not work with it right away until I could find a better place to shelve it. It's kind of
good move. Yep.
It's like in the Civil War, the American Civil War. Lincoln would be confronted by a congressman who says, "I'll vote for you if you find a place for my son in your army as a general." And the Lincoln would go, "Fine," and he would send him over to General Grant, and Grant would say, "What am I supposed to do with this guy?" And Lincoln said, "Just give him a job, just get him out of the way."
Yeah.
And that's what he would do. He would make him a general and then put him in some kind of a desk job in Washington, D.C., and then that would be it. And that's sort of where Philidor the Blue went. Philidor the Blue went to a desk job in Washington, D.C. Temporarily. Now, I'm not totally opposed to the character, certainly. I mean, I can find a use for every character except for maybe one in Greyhawk. You know, there's always something you can do with it. And at the very worst, you could always say, well, he just had a very high opinion of himself, and it turned out not to work out that well. But, but we'll see. Oh, wait a minute. I've got Alexa is talking. I can't do anything when Alexa's yelling across the room. I'm sorry. I should have. Yeah, that's the big drawback to having Alexa in your house, is that all of a sudden it'll interrupt everything. But I wrote Philidor the Blue, and I will actually get back to you about that.
That's no problem. It's all good. But you just said all but one. Which one is you will use all but one? You just said, right? Character.
Oh, that was the one from the collector card set of Greyhawk of Tree Hugger the Druid. I did not. I mean, other people have told me they used Tree Hugger the Druid by changing his name to Trehugger or something like that, and they put him in the game. But otherwise, that one I actually, crossed the line for a lot of people that I knew personally, and that's fine.
Okay.
So that was the only one that I personally would look at and go, I don't know what I can do with that.
Yeah.
I don't know what I can do with that one.
So was that from the 92 or 93 collection? One of those two collections?
Yes.
It was specifically a Greyhawk.
Yes, okay. It was a Greyhawk thing. And
wow. I don't have all those cards. That's one of the few things I don't have. Thank you for that hype train getting us over level 3. Like I said, 5 giveaways tonight for Troll Lord. So enjoy, everyone. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Philidor the Blue. Let me look him up. Actually, we'll have because you mentioned him before, and I should have checked into him then. But I will get back to you about that one.
No problem at all. You want to look in the From the Ashes box set, and there's a mention of him in the Marklands as well. They're the 2 mentions that I know of. They're only 2 mentions that I know of him. And it's just like it just got after that. There's speculation a lot of it, and then there's nothing. So yeah, at all. So
Well, I should correct myself. There was one other character I couldn't do anything with in Greyhawk, and that was Fluffet Smedger, who, allegedly comes from the far future. I mean, that's
Mhm.
Gary's creation. He could do what he wants, but
Yeah.
you
Right.
literally can't do anything with that because according to the biography written about Fluffet Smedger, the age of magic in Greyhawk is over with. Well, no, no, that's not going to happen. So, but a lot of stuff gets created for Greyhawk, or was created for Greyhawk in the past that you can kind of just give a desk job in Washington D.C. and you don't worry
Mhm.
about it anymore,
Mhm.
and that's fine.
And that's like Chuck from Happy Days first season, the older brother. He disappears after the first season of Happy Days.
And there you are. There, or what does the king say in Amadeus? There it is. There it is.
I was just curious because I got everyone knows I have bones with certain things, and that's one of them. And it's not a big deal. That and like the other thing from that era is the moonbow drives me crazy. Like all of a sudden elves have this urge to go to Lendor Isle, and that drove me nuts too. Right? Why? Why would they all? That doesn't appear anywhere in the old literature, old books at all. That elves now are like the elves of Middle Earth, walking off and disappearing and going to the Grey
Mhm.
Havens. That kind of stuff.
Yep,
So.
yep. Yeah, you
Hey
got me on
there, Avon. Good to see you. We got some of our Brits there. Good to see you.
Yep.
So.
Yep. You just struggle to maintain a coherency to the whole picture and do the best you can.
All right.
Mhm.
So Sam says, according to Noel Graham, who managed to contact Carl Sargent, Philibert was supposed to be a golem created by Palor and Corellin to help against Ayus. Yes, rather to Gandalf-like, but intended as a more actively good patron than Mordenkainen doing his balance. Intended though, but it was stated he was a wizard though, right, Sam? And I guess it went awry, and that's the crazy stuff that happens there. Hey, Garner, thank you. Yeah, so Garner, by the way, your book went to your daughter that you won on Wednesday night. Just note that. So your Treasures of Greyhawk is in your daughter's hands. Just note that. So 1 year before, yep, there it is. So Bent Metal just put it in chat. Felder was active, was very servants, blah blah blah. He has been rarely seen since the Great Northern Crusade. Took back much of Vestry. Yep, in there. This is just one of those things. I know this was your era. Your era is right after all the Ashes and Ayus the Evil and Ivid the Undying, which never got released. So that's a good question too, Anna. Why was Ivid the Undying never released? How about that one? That's a tough one. It's Carl Sargent's Great Kingdom publication that some of it went into Dungeons Dragons, and then it's available. It's in PDFs. Any idea on that? I'm throwing out some tough ones for you.
I would, if I recall correctly, because at one time I was actually in charge of the Greyhawk line. Management wanted to push it out early on because it wasn't making the money anymore. And once it got pushed out, that was when the hue and cry arose among all of the faithful that it should be brought back, and it was brought back.
Right.
But there was a problem that what did they finally do? They put Ivid the Undying online.
They put the document on the internet, a Word document that you could download on the internet, and then they put the image files were too big because then was forums, and this is so early days that the World Wide Web was invented but barely implemented in this like mid 90s or early 90s. So they put that in the Dragon or Dungeon magazine. I forgot which. I think they printed the couple of the couple of the maps that were supposed to be in the module. Yeah,
that's good. That's good. When I was in charge of the core center line, this is when I was the short time I was a middle manager at TSR. We wound up eliminating Greyhawk and Mystara about the same time, so that was sad, but there wasn't much else you could do. It was only Greyhawk was the one that came back because that was the one that turned out to have the big backing behind it, and so it turned out for the better, I guess. I'm not going to complain about it too much. So, It was what it was.
Yeah, and it was also a couple of years before TSR went bankrupt. So I guess the finances were on the ropes.
Yeah, they had always been on the ropes, but I don't want to go on about that. They had always been on the ropes. TSR had signed an agreement with the distributors that the distributors could not give back any product that did not sell, and the distributors were finally able to overcome that, and that was the end of TSR. And I mean, I watched it happen. I mean, there was loads of stuff that came back from the distributors. I mean, truckloads of stuff that filled up the warehouse, and that was pretty much the end at that point. That was where we got bought out, and it was we were living on borrowed time the whole time, and there are a lot of things about the old days at TSR that I've kind of made up my mind it's probably not a good idea to talk about. A lot of things, but that in particular I will mention that just popped, and there was nothing we could do.
But I'm so glad that actually came out a while and didn't get lost on some hardware or disappeared in this stuff. It's so good that we now have it in the lore, so to speak. It made it into the product line, even if it was not officially printed or anything. I think also the Elmore that was mentioned, and it was the cover image was also leaked with the other stuff came out there too. Yeah, I think it was leaked afterwards in and this is just me trying to remember what happened 30 years ago here, but I think that leaked out afterwards somehow, and I think that was part of the merger when Wizards of the Coast came up and it came on the internet. Then that Elmore picture leaked out to say this was the one that was intended for the module. I think.
It was officially leaked. I will say. That was actually not a secret thing somebody did. That was actually direct. They said, just put it online, and that was it. And everybody went, oh, okay. Oh, it's a freebie for everybody.
Yeah,
so,
that was fantastic. So
they got a free module.
Yeah, and then someone put together the original Word document and the stuff and made a layout. So there's a PDF you can now that it looks like the Marklands.
Nice too. Let me see.
Exactly. So it looks like one of because it had an official TSR number, even if it never got leaked. The Word document had the product number. So there is now a PDF of it that you can download probably lots of places.
Let me say hello to my wife. Hello.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can.
She just got home, so
I will bring it. I will bring it up here. Let me see if I don't hit a wrong button.
So it's there's several. I've seen several.
I hit a wrong button. Yes.
Oh wow!
Wrong
there we go.
button
A little bit too early.
On that 5 year. Here's a video.
Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah. That's
Joby,
I don't think that's Elmore. I think that's who is that?
This is a Birthright cover.
Jeff Easley. No, I think that's Jeff Easley.
Right.
No, that was Vivid the Undying. That was it. I remember that one.
Yeah.
So
there's been a couple of different ones that someone made it into. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's fantastic, and it's very clean. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Now there's a couple things missing. I know some people printed it out. In particular, Dale Assure has printed it out, and and hey, Clever, good to see you. That
was tacky on here.
Yep.
But it is a nice piece. So
I'm so glad it because it's one of the best in many sense. I think it's the best of Carl Sargent work in a lot of sense. It's really
I found it very helpful when I was going through my stuff on the thing. It helped me tie up a lot of the loose ends in Ivid's area with Furiondi and everything else. So that turned out all right.
Definitely a worthwhile undertaking to have. And if you don't have it and you can find it, get it, because it's really it's really a useful resource.
Where is it now?
There's various internet archives and stuff.
Good.
Put it around.
It is
so
not that large. So Roger.
I think the original Word document is not officially hosted anywhere anymore. It was officially hosted in Wizards of the Coast website, but I don't think it is anymore. It was released in some forum, AOL or something like that early on, or in the early days of the internet.
Yeah, I remember that. That's where I found it.
And then we'll see. We'll go for it because, of course, tonight we're talking Greyhawk and we're talking general D&D too. Feel free, as long as it's not an additional war thing, or what the hell Watsy Hasbro's doing now? Because we don't want to go there. But yeah, please, if you got a question for Roger, go in the back. I just started some things off with a couple iffy ones right off the bat, so why not? But as he's writing this character, Dark Elf's putting this in, Roger, who was your favorite Greyhawk character? Did you have one like that you really
It
liked?
had to be Merlin.
Merlin, nice.
Merlin,
I love
without
Merlin.
question. Without
Mhm.
question, it was Merlin.
Oh, that's awesome.
Part of it was that I bought it. I mean, I knew the history of it with Don Kay and everything, and it had a lot of that had happened not long before I joined the company and everything. So I was pretty familiar with his story and everything. They took very good care of his family
Yeah.
after he
Okay.
passed, and had it not been for Don Kay, there would not be TSR. That. So he is
Mhm.
the secret hero of the whole thing. But that was his favorite character. Gary expanded and revised it a little bit, but it came out. I love the way it came out, so I have no question. I have no problem with it. I just love it.
I love it
So
too, so much that we have multiple Merlin specialty priests in my campaign.
yeah.
I just think it's just, and it is published. The Merlin specialty priest is in the Slavers reference. Okay,
Oh,
it was done by Primus
good.
and Sean Reynolds, along with Kellerman, which is
Yeah,
in there too. I love
that's
Kellerman
interesting.
too.
'Cause Merlin actually shows up in one of the series I'm writing, but then we'll get to
Oh,
that.
nice,
Yeah,
nice.
so I make good use of him. He
Yeah,
was,
Mhm.
he is. He is an excellent deity. I
he's
know
my
he
favorite.
originally was a player character, went out and became out the realms with that whole crew, right? Keaton,
Yep,
Merlin, Joy D. They were all
yep,
together.
yep.
So, okay, all right. So I got that one. I got that one there. Get Tano. I got them both. So here, all right. First question we'll do Dark Elf online here, and then Anna we'll do Dark Elf, then Katanas, and we'll do whatever you got. So the question is, give me if you Greyhawk recommendations new to Greyhawk adventures. Doesn't have to be
Uh,
first level, but like pure what you would recommend. Published modules.
oh, uh, you can't do too much better than Village of Hamlet, I mean, or some variation of that. If you don't want to, I mean, if everyone's tired of it, I mean, just copy it over to somewhere else and call it,
Mhm.
Hamlet or something else. Just call it something else. But you can't do too much better than that. It's got a lot of background backstabbery in it, and a
Yep.
lot of treachery and danger and things like that in a first level village. And
Mhm.
who doesn't love that? I
Yep.
mean, that's a nice way to start. So I would. Wow.
What about like Restonford and what Len did in the L series? I mean, it's entry level. I know Bone Hill's level is 2 to 4, but I still say you can run that at first level because there's so much
Yeah,
going on
I
in the
wouldn't have any
outskirts.
problem with that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have to admit I haven't read through the whole series, but I never was able to get hold of them and everything. But they kind of appeared and kind of disappeared at the company, and so.
Okay.
But I grabbed all the rest of it that I could.
Helmet is always a great starting point. How about like what's like the creme de la creme of high, like between 7th and a 10th level adventuring that's published? You think in Greyhawk? Hey, Curtis.
Uh, Against the Giants.
Yeah.
Against the Giants. I mean, it always comes back to Gary. Against the Giants really was it. I would start with the Hill Giant adventure and try and draw it out as long as you can. Because once they knock through that, they're going to start moving pretty quickly. But if you can start with the hill giants and maybe even introduce it like a hill giant comes and raids your village or something like that. I think I mentioned last time I even ran a hill giant for a first level character group that managed to kill it with missile fire, but
Mhm.
with the loss of a couple of characters. But hill giants not being all as powerful as I guess as maybe they are nowadays. But studying of the hill giant chief, I would definitely find ways to kind of bring that to life over a good. You could do that over 8 to 10 adventures. I mean, without even getting to the setting. I mean, you get,
Mhm.
hill giants at a small, place that are raiding villages, and they go pick off one at a time, which is easily possible, and even in first edition. So, but I would go at it from that. Yeah, the hill giant chief was always good for everything. But actually, once they knock that one off, they're going to move very fast. Because I never saw a group that delayed more than one session on after they killed the hill giant chief, getting to the frost giants, knocking them off, and then getting to the fire giants. The only time I saw a group ever stop after the fire giants was when they ran into a drow.
Yeah,
And,
well, yeah, that'll do it. Was
Yeah,
it
everything went
Hydra?
downhill very fast after that, and they didn't. When they learned there was a whole series where you had to go fight drow, they just said no.
We've
Yeah.
had that happen with an adventure. I've actually had that happen, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
That you mentioned that. They're like, no, I'm not doing that. And I'll
No.
talk about that. And I said, no,
No.
just no, we're not doing that. And I'll tell
Yeah.
that story.
Oh, I
again
get to
real
go
quick.
underground and die. No,
No,
that's okay.
no. There
I'm
you go,
good.
Curtis. Gotcha. Thank you. Yeah, the 200th Legends and Lore we got a lot of things. 200th Legends and Lore was Wednesday, and the 5th year streaming anniversary is today, and then the 1000th adventure is coming up in a couple of weeks. So, yes, to sincerely decline your offer to fight Drow. Roger, were you involved in the company with the 25th anniversary box set? The big silver box with all the stuff inside.
I didn't have anything to do with it.
Okay.
No, I didn't make it to the 25th. I think I was at TSR 17 and a half years before I was let go. So I made it that far, but
okay. So you did not make it to that 25th.
I don't recall the 25th thing. If it came out during my time, I have to say I was oblivious to it.
Okay.
A lot of things were done without, necessarily having everybody's, they may have gone to some of the game designers and pulled it out at that point, but I don't know.
Because the reason I asked that is there was a against the giant. They did the
It's
giant silver.
Must have been 99. He came out, I think.
Yeah, it was
because
99.
yeah,
It's
it's 50 in the next year. So it's 99.
Oh.
So yeah.
Okay, I know what happened then because they were picked up by Wizards, and I think it had already been picked up by Hasbro in '99. So I would have been working at home as an editor during that time, and they would have been in Renton, Washington. Okay, so that's why I didn't have anything to do with it. Now I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't even there.
All right. The reason I just asked that, and I'm gonna, is because I was just curious if you had thoughts on this, which was the 25th anniversary where they added a lot to the Giants, right? On this
there were a lot of return
this is
to
G1, 2, and 3
yeah.
added in of all the.
I heard about that. Never got a look at it.
Okay.
I would love to have seen that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that was a tremendous creation he did. So I was tickled to death with that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. All right, so we got another question here. Gitano asked one, and it has to do with Dullstrand. I think you did a publication. Roger did an LG description for Dullstrand. Any thoughts about his inspiration or anything else he was planning at the time?
There was for Living Greyhawk. There was a Dullstrand at a glance along. I have the PDF here, and I'm not sure. That would have been
that would have been Eric Mona. And the other people who worked on it, because I was the editor for that, like I said last time, but that would be more of an Eric Mona question.
Okay.
I remember Dullstrand. I didn't even know what a strand was for a long time. I had to look it up. Oh, it's a beach. Oh,
yes, it's actually Swedish. Yep.
Yeah, it's Nordic.
A beach. Yep.
Well, I was a little slow. Okay, so
but it's the Nordic languages. It's
no worries,
it's a beach.
None at all.
And there it is. But that'd be a good question to catch Eric Mona with. That would be a good one for him because I'm not too sure what they did with that one.
I don't know if Eric's going to be coming on this special show, but we've nailed down a very special show coming up on June 11th on a Gabbin. So
Dullstrand got a full treatment with a historic overview and a country presentation, because it was one of these that didn't get a full in the book, if I remember correctly, in the Living Greyhawk Gazetteer. So they made one separately, and it was part. So yeah, but it's not listed who wrote it. It's just sent out. So among the Living Greyhawk material.
Okay.
So, but it was a proper one that was really cool. So yeah.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Chad, thank you for the minis. I made the donation, and I'm going to use them. I don't think any nerdy guide people are on, but I'm going to be using them on the week after next, which is May 20th. In the morning. I know, yeah, it'll be an early morning event because they're all from the Brits, and since that time slot's been changed like 3 times, so yep. So I appreciate that. Okay. All right. Let me go to this. Let me go here, if I can.
Oh, yes.
So if you do not have this, or June 1996, I forget what dragon this is out of. Oh my gosh, you should get it. You should get this. You should get the Dragon magazine, because this. Remember, our first ever fundraiser, the first ever St. Jude fundraiser. I used the 7th of the 8th orb of dragon kind that Emrakul the Chaotic was trying to get, right? And that was the orb of, excuse me, Elder Worm. That wasn't the last one, right? No, the Eternal Grand Dragon's the last one. We did the orb of, excuse me, the Elder Worm. So, so how long? My question, Roger. How long did it take you to write this article? This is a great article. There's a lot chock full of Greyhawk lore.
I'd say about, if I remember correctly, about a month or two.
Wow.
That was all. When I have to do a research type article, I literally collect everything I can find and pile it up in front of me, and then just start copying off stuff, cutting and pasting until I have a sheet that I can read from that has everything on it. I want to know exactly everything there was ever written about the orbs of dragon kind, or how many ages of dragons are there, what could I possibly use out of I really got into the letter style for doing those kinds of,
Yeah.
adding in background things. I can't remember what I was very much into reading some of the background books about Lord of the Rings that were talking about how Tolkien had set things up.
Mhm.
And there were some other books that had like letters from wizard to wizard and everything. And I remember that had a great influence on me, because
All right.
I wanted to get across a lot of the background information, the exposition, and do it in a way that wasn't terribly painful. And I felt like it was good to introduce, a lot of the characters, and set up little things where different people were talking to each other about what was going on, and be able to add a lot of background that way.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's Dragon 230.
230. Thank you.
Yep.
Dragon
Oh,
230.
okay.
So, because like here, you even mentioned the Duke Zephyrin, one of Anna's, right?
Mhm.
The great
Yeah,
murder
it
of
was one.
Almor.
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah,
It was one of my top villains in my Real Devin campaign. Yep.
absolutely. And
Ah,
yeah,
okay.
so
Yep.
some really great background information here. If you really want to flesh out, yeah.
Mhm.
So my point on this is, you get like, and there's Book of Artifacts and stuff, but they're generically done, right? They're not made to a campaign setting, and so these orbs of
No.
Dragonkind are in the original Dungeon Master's Guide, and Roger goes really hardcore on making this such Greyhawk flavored, right?
Well, that was part of my drive at the time, like I was saying last time. I drive to drag every artifact I could get my hands on, so to speak, and bring it back into the Greyhawk world.
Yeah, and it's just done so well. And note, nothing good comes of owning any of these, makes it even better, right? Maybe for a short amount of time, it'll benefit you, but in the long term, it's going to be bad. And each of them, each level, they're each an age category, from the hatchling all the way up to the Grand Eternal, and they are super powerful. And this is a long article in a dragon with a lot of data in it, and that's
Mhm.
why I love it so much, with the powers detailed on every single one, which makes it even better. So you have the specific powers here.
Yeah.
Because this thing, like, look at this. Like the Orb of the Elder Worm, it says right here, Finger of Death twice per day. That's an instant death, permanent. No saving throw for dragons. So dragons ain't messing with you if you control the orb of the Elder Worm. This is only the 7th orb, but it's going to completely corrupt you, and you're going to become almost a slave to it, or just be destroyed by him, which is really what makes him so awesome.
That was something that affected me. What was I thinking about? I think it had to do with the One Ring. from the Lord of the Rings, which you like had so many powers it could offer you, that were obvious and some that were not so obvious, but you were just permanently corrupt the second you got a hold of it. I think it was Galadriel's little scene in the movie where she turns into this monster ghost thing that
Yeah.
caused everybody in the audience of the theater to kind of, whoa, what is going on? And where she says, that's why I can't have the ring. It's going to corrupt, the equivalent, the highest power you've got on your world. And I remember thinking about that when I was writing this article, and I just said, I want this to be really bad news. And I want it to do tremendous things, but I also want it to drive you right out of the game. I mean, it's not going to help with Monty Hall, Game Master, or anything like that, but with anyone else who's playing it, half reasonably, you're just going to say, nah, I don't think so. I think I'll just read about it, not get it.
Right, and our first fundraiser we ever did when Anna played Mariel, which is the study of Jalarzi, and we had all our high level characters from the Iron Brigade in, and we just had, and even Tim's dad played. Remember Anna? John played in that fundraiser, and we raised $1,000 off of it. But they were just making sure that he didn't get it, and they were going to take it, not touch it, wrap it up, and get it to the. It was actually Mordenkainen and Tensor that sent them on this mission, which was really cool. So it was a fun time.
Mordenkainen must not have liked them.
Get rid of them.
Here, go get the Orb of Dragonkind. Don't bother me anymore.
That's it. But for fundraisers, you do kind of crazy stuff like that,
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Look at the intelligence and ego of the Orb of the Eternal Grand Dragon. 18 and 18. It's just grotesque, and So,
Baby, don't.
It took. Trust me, my cat may be doing the same thing. So I love this article.
Yep.
So this is from 1996. Oh wow, this is a month after I got married. Holy jeez. June 96. Creative analyst at TSR, currently working on a variety of projects. He is tickled to have an article in Dragon Magazine. He also wishes to thank Eric Myrna for his sharp eye and quick response time in checking over this article. Well, there you go.
Yes, he's a great guy. He did a lot of good things for me. He's a great guy. I like him.
So, all right, I just wanted to point that out here that and look, it says Gary Sygax here. We have a little minor blip of there it is. Someone made a
oh my
mistake.
God, no.
That's okay. You can't catch everything.
That's great. That's just great. Okay. I noticed that. Is this taken from the Anarchive online?
No, this is a PDF snipped out of the PDF of the Dragon Magazine.
Oh, okay.
It's part of.
I've noticed that some PDFs seem to have more errors than others, and I don't know why that is.
Yeah, this is just.
I think the 250 first Dragon that they put on a bunch of CDs and sold them as an archive. And it's funny. I bought that. It's a collection of 5 CDs, I think, with the turf. Yeah. One of the CDs they put number 2 third CDs or something. So I missed one of the CDs. So I wrote, but it took, and then the thing got caught up and missing, and when Wizard of the Coast took over, and so, but eventually I managed to download all of them from various dubious sources. But I thought I paid for this on a CD and didn't get it, so then I collected them as PDFs later. But so I think the most of them are done really well, and then but even then they seem to done, because some of them probably had they were dubious sources, and there were different qualities from the paper scans and stuff.
Yes,
and they got scanned in different ways using different technologies and stuff. So some of them are fantastic, and some of them not so good.
Yeah, some of the print to other print come with little errors built into them, where RN turns into M, or things like that. You know what I'm talking about.
Well, when they some of them were OCR properly, so to speak. Some of them are not. So we
were talking and this is 96 as well, so it's not like we have a lot of.
I will say I even though I had lost or gave away or lost all of my big collection of AD&D and TSR materials after I was let go from TSR back in 2000. I did manage to get a bunch of them back in PDF form, and a lot of the adventures I got through Drive-Through RPG, which worked out very well. And the Dragon and Dungeon issues I got off an archive.
Right.
Yeah. ANNA archive.
Sometimes they're up, sometimes they're down, right? Up and down, up and down.
Yeah. But that turned out very well.
Absolutely.
That turned out well.
So, I know a lot of people weren't on the very first minute we came on, but Troller Games, 5 giveaways for the 5-year anniversary, 2 $15 gift certificates, 1 $25 gift certificate, 1 $50 gift certificate, 1 signed hard copy Player's Handbook, signed by Stephen Chenault. All right, they're the 5 giveaways tonight, just so you're aware, courtesy of Troller Games. In support of 5 years. So, good. You got the Titan Dice. I'm glad to hear that. So, Garner, you're on a win streak here. So, all right. Questions for Roger? Go ahead, Anna. What do you got?
I was thinking, we talked about product and stuff. I was thinking, Roger, what do you like to see from the Greyhawk community going forward, so to speak? What kind of things would you like Greyhawk fan creators like me and others to do, so to speak? What would you like?
Everything you're already doing.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, going in and developing places that had not been previously developed. I mean, it's very exciting, to realize it was very exciting for me at the last GaryCon to realize that actually there was a huge movement already afoot, to produce more Greyhawk material and more Greyhawk material. And I was just beside myself. I just thought I'll never be able to read all this, but it's good that it's out. I was very happy for that. And so that just tickled me to death. Hi, Boudica. Anyway, so, but that tickled me to death. I was always very curious about Nyrond. I mean, Nyrond, over the years, I've heard people say, well, it's kind of like medieval France. No, it's kind of like medieval France and England put together. And no, it's actually kind of like Nyrond or something else, And so Nyrond always kind of interested me as like a thing to develop. There was Nyrond struck me as being a good place to run a first level campaign out of, because it was one of the most powerful and best known provinces of the old Great Kingdom and everything. And I don't recall seeing a lot about it. I would be a terrible person to ask about it, just because I haven't been able to keep up with all the groundwork and everything that's been going on and everything. But
I think you're in luck already on Wednesday night.
Wednesday night.
Yeah, we would have Mike Mossberger von Molku, and that's his
area. Our third My Greyhawk episode for Legends Lore of von Molku. That his area is Nyrond. So there
that's
you go.
His
Look at that timing, Roger.
So it was almost like Mike must have talked to you to get that plug, so to speak, because that was
just the fate of Istus.
Said,
we're going to have this happen. Okay.
Yeah. So he is he loves Nyrond, and he's set a lot of campaign work and stuff, and he has lots of cool stuff. So see if we can find a website link here to put in chat.
Yep. So by the way, we do have Avon Avengers in chat. That's Stuart Kerrigan, by the way, in chat. So you probably coordinated with him a lot during that era. Him, Paul Luby, and we're doing a bunch of great stuff. So he has a question.
And now go ahead, I'm sorry if I spilled the beans early on Wednesday, but that was I just had to. I put the link Nyron.wordpress.com. Cool. That's his site for his game. So yeah.
Our third ever My Greyhawk one, which is good. So here are 2 questions out there. If you were going to have or play or start a Greyhawk campaign, you were playing it, or what would you make? Race, first level, race class. What
if I was going to?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean if I was a player?
Yeah.
I'm a fighter person, because I think, like I mentioned before, I don't like complicated characters. It's just hard for me to keep track of. Even a thief, it's like, oh my God, how many skills do I have? And I think I can barely play a cleric, but a fighter I can do pretty well. So I usually play pretty straightforward, cut and dried fighters.
Yeah.
Human. uh, I wouldn't be too picky about, what it was, just as long as it was a fighter.
Yeah.
I liked playing halflings, but more as kind of a gag and
Mhm.
everything. I had a paladin. I mean, I had it not a paladin, but I had a halfling character. He was a fighter that he called himself Paladin Brandybuck. And he told everybody he was a fighter, but I mean, that he was a paladin, but he wasn't.
Right.
He was a fighter thief who liked to, do good in the world and everything, neutral good character, but he would uh, manufacture ways that he could perform miracles, and everybody would go,
Wow.
oh my god, it's a paladin halfling, what do we do?
Mhm.
You did.
And this was back in the first edition days and everything.
Yeah.
So but fighter,
All right.
you
Yeah.
know
So I'm going to ask.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I have to ask because you said first edition days. You're playing a first edition fighter. If he had the stats, would you ever consider dual classing him on later on? And that dual class, you said human fighter, or he just go through his lord status or whatever. Like
no,
say he had
probably just
17
keep him up.
intelligence. Yeah, maybe I'll make him a mage one day.
No,
Mhm.
Okay.
he'd be a fighter.
Yeah.
No, I'm a pretty boring guy. I would just
That's
keep him a
okay.
fighter.
That's okay. Go ahead, Anna.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to cut you off there.
No, no, it was. I was thinking. Do you think that that was part of the intent of D&D design originally, to have a class that was very simple to play and another class that was more advanced? And if was, do you think that was part of the game design early on, or was that more just like it happened?
That's actually a good question. I don't think it was deliberate, as far as like that. I think, if I remember correctly, the first few character classes, the fighter and wizard, and then
Yeah.
thief, got added on because of all the thief characters in the different fantasy books in the 70s and 60s. But I think it was just how it turned out.
Yeah.
The fighters are
Mhm.
pretty uncomplicated.
Yeah.
They wear armor, they carry swords.
Mhm.
We're done.
Yeah.
We don't have spells to throw. We don't have special skills to perform. For the most part. And
Mhm.
it's just a nice thing to do. I like to
Yeah.
focus more on the role playing. When I'm
Okay.
not being completely silly, but I like to focus more on the role playing and take it from there. I think part of
Yeah.
my problem is that I tend to forget, and which is a problem I've always had my whole life. I even have a notebook with me right beside me with a pen, so I can write things down so I don't forget. But I've done that ever since I was about 10 years old. I've never had a very good memory, so I always have to supplement it with everything added on to it, figure out mnemonics or keep notes. I used to have my pockets used to be full of notes at TSR, just so I'd remember what to do. But fighters were just a lot easier to play just because I didn't have to remember what to do. I mean, I would get into a situation, and when I played a cleric, and I go, I really should have thrown that spell. It would have helped a lot, or why didn't I take that spell? So I just didn't like that kind of thing. I'd just rather get in there and play.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, I'm so lazy as a player that I just assume that now I'm just playing. I don't need to remember any of this, so I'm just like riding along, and then someone else, oh, what's the mission? And I'm like, oh, I forgot about that part. But when I'm a DM, I try to be on top of everything, and when I'm players, like I just want to roll dice and have fun and assist a little bit. So I see my role so different. So I'm a terrible player in that sense. That I you can't rely on me being a
Well,
mission.
you're in the same boat with me, so that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
but
That's
when I'm
okay.
running games, I'm
Good deal.
I'm terrorizing my players with lore, and all the bits need to fall in place. And then as a player, I'm terrible. So yeah.
So Roger
Gotcha.
Stewart asked, when you wrote this, the Adventure Begins era, was there a
Yep.
was there a gazetteer? It sounds like Niron would be the one you wanted. Was there a gazetteer that you would want to do more detailed of Greyhawk that you wish you could have done, like a specific area, Sheldamar Valley, or just
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mentioned before I'm working on a series of articles for Earth Journal for Christoph Nolan, and yeah, I'm not working on anything that's specific on the world of Greyhawk. I wanted to do more was to try and look at the big picture and figure out new places characters could go by teleportation or crossing planes or whatever they did, to new places where they could go and have their adventures, and with a Greyhawk feel to it. are certainly connected up, because I was very impressed, long ago with like the Giant Drow series and some of the other, things that Gary and the others would do, where, you left Greyhawk and you went somewhere else was that. I mean, you could certainly go into the Sea of Dust, and that would be as alien a place as you could ever, manage to find, where you could breathe the air. But what I'm working on now with two series. One was about the gates of Greyhawk, which I started in the 1970s. I mean, the 1990s, not started in the 1990s, about 1997, I think, and then didn't finish for 30 years, and then finally got back to writing parts
That's
two.
okay.
But I'd mentioned earlier, one of the things I was trying to work on was a new uh, Greyhawk related world. Gary, and 40 years ago, actually, we'll celebrate it the fall of next year. It'll be the 40th anniversary of him writing this. Gary Gygax wrote a thing for Polyhedron Newsine, where he wrote one paragraph that's been analyzed and reanalyzed a million times, where he talked about the parallel worlds of Orth and Earth, that he had Earth at one end of the continuum and Orth, Greyhawk, at the other end. And there were three worlds in between, which had different levels of magic. Magic was all powerful on the Greyhawk campaign world, Orth, with an O, and then it progressed through Aerith with an A, which I think which he later developed as Epic of Earth in the early 1990s and everything. Wizards of the Coast actually now owns that, or Hasbro does. They, after the legal case was resolved, TSR simply took everything and then kind of buried it. But there's Aerith, and then there was Yarth in the middle, and then moved on to Earth with a U, and then to Earth and everything. Earth with a U is basically a high technology, low magic world, which has been done pretty well. A friend of mine, William Connors at TSR, did Gothic Earth, which was basically a type of Call of Cthulhu feel campaign, where it was done in three different books, Mask of the Red Death, and some of the other things, which was basically a high technology, late 1800s magic campaign. And now I took an interest in the middle world, Yarth, which would have had about the same level of technology and magic as the other two. Gary had apparently always seen magic and technology as being the inverse of each other. Technology was how you got things done in the real world, by hard work, and magic was how you got it done by saying presto. So between the two, Yarth would have been in the middle. So it turned out it would have had to have been a science fantasy kind of world. So,
yeah, that's what Pat 66 says, like a steampunk type.
Yep. Yeah. So it would have been more of a science fantasy. So what I'm doing is developing Yarth according to Gary's principles as he laid out, and just doing my own version of it, just to kind of throw it out there and saying, this is what you could do if you wanted, if you want to expand your Greyhawk campaign and move it on to other worlds and everything. Of course, there's all the fun with geography, because Gary was very fond of flipping maps over east to west, and I mean, he did it repeatedly in his different things. So Yarth is no exception. I haven't quite figured out how that would work, but I'll get around to it. But all those should be coming out from Earth Channel, I think, this year. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. That'll be fun. I've gotten three. I think I've got 3 episodes on each of the Gates of Greyhawk thing. I just finished one of them for what it's like to voyage to modern Earth, things to keep in charge of. I don't talk about game mechanics, but I talk about some of the dangers you're going to have to keep in mind, and radiation, things like that. But we'll see. We'll see how it turns out.
Awesome.
I got 3 on the Yarth series too. I'm working on number 4.
Wow. Yep.
Yeah.
So, hey, Michael, there's Von Moku hopping in there. I'll get you your VIP for that for next Wednesday. Dangerous Journeys, was that an Earth one, AERTH, or was that not? When he put out those.
That was AERTH.
That was AERTH. Okay, got
it.
That
was Gary made some comments about. He didn't make very many, but what he said about Aerith was that it was more or less like Orth, the Greyhawk campaign, because it was a high magic, a little more technology than Greyhawk had, but it was still basically a high magic campaign. And when he moved off to have his game published through GDW in the early 90s, he took Aerith and developed it as the I guess the more powerful version of Orth. I mean, if you flip through Epic of Earth, I wish I'd kept my copy of it. If you flip through Epic of Earth, you can tell this is a pretty powerful planet. I mean, it is littered with artifacts, deities. It is littered with, really massive, magically equipped armies. I mean, it is a pretty powerful place. So Gary was obviously, grooming it to make it into the new super campaign and everything. But so I usually, when I talk about Orth and Aerith, I put them almost at the same end of the spectrum. I mean, they're both extremely powerful magical domains. You could, if you could find Epic of Earth, the campaign book, it's pretty light on game mechanics, and you could easily convert it into an AD&D campaign, with no trouble, and make it, like a parallel world where, you could hop from the Greyhawk campaign into that. There would not be any trouble.
Castle Zagging and all that, is that Aerith as well?
What's that?
Castle Zagging and all the other things he published with Troller Games, which are kind of like in the winds right now because of the ownership problem. Is that also Aerith? Hit those publications that Gary did for Trollord, where anyone know that? I don't know.
You got me on that. The final agreement that was made with Gary, between TSR Wizards and everything, and Gary, it's a little opaque to me. They did not go into detail about that, and they didn't pass it around to anybody, so I have no idea.
Okay. Earth is mentioned. URTH is mentioned in the Troller Game Gazetteer for season. Well, okay. Castles. That's interesting. Castle Zagging is Earth, not the. It's URTH, not the UERTH. Got it. So he made it completely separate. All right. Awesome. Yeah,
there are an awful lot of ancient words for Earth that you can milk, and I think my favorite one was IORTHE. I don't even know where to begin with that one.
Wow.
Said, oh well, hey, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just like he kept his creative juices flowing there, which is a great thing.
Oh, he did.
Which is awesome. So we had a question. I'm sorry, I forget who asked it, but in D&D, someone wants to know what's the highest level character when you were playing. You ever got a character to? And who was it?
That I did. 16th. Didn't even. And once I got to 16th, there was no point in going any higher. I didn't even count experience points
Fighter?
after that. Fighter.
What was his name? His or her name?
John Grond. He was half ogre in the old parlance.
Yes.
Yes, in the old parlance, he was a half ogre fighter. He had no complications whatsoever. When I got to 16th level with him, I stopped counting. It was experience points just became unimportant.
Mm-hmm.
He had 2 attacks per turn. He could do pretty much anything he wanted to, and I simply didn't care if he got to 20th level. I mean, none of that was important to me anymore. It was just role playing became the only thing I was concerned about. That and not running into rust monsters. God forbid. I hated rust monsters. Did not like rust monsters at all. Hi, sweetheart.
So if you all want to know where you can go, well, there's 2 places you can go. You can go Best of Dragon Volume 3, or you can go to This Great Dragon 73, which has the Duelist NPC class in it that I use to this day with some minor tweaks. And then we go to page 24. And this is a great Roger Moore article, too. And there's the Duelist. Arthur Collins. Snowlock.
Yes.
Snowlock Snowball Swarm. Made the
Yes, I remember him.
I got to have him on. I really do. And
cool guy.
Interplanes, Gary Gygax's article, which is cool.
That was very helpful. That was a very helpful article. That cleared up a lot of the... I mean, it's all out of date now, but it was a very helpful article for clearing up the old system of the planes and everything like that. I really liked 3-dimensional drawings and all that. That was quite exciting.
Yeah, it is, and just to note how the science of it is to make it. There you go. You can actually make a cube up of it. This one's what do you call it?
That I actually used when I was doing Baba Yaga's hut.
Really?
I took the idea that he used for that and redrew it. I didn't use that exact thing, but it was the idea that he put in there, to do that really triggered a lot of what I did with Baba Yaga's hut when I was turning it into a hypercube tesseract.
And
So that
the question there was a question in the audience. What's your favorite adventure you ever wrote? And I'm assuming it's that one. I could
yeah,
be wrong. Yep, Baba Yaga's hut.
no, you're
Absolutely.
not wrong. That was it.
So let's get to 24 here. It should be coming up here. No, I didn't go by it, did I? Nope, here it
Good
is.
stuff.
All right, the whole half ogre finishing what EGG started, and this is where you go if you want to really use half ogres in your campaign. If you're not a Goliath person, you even got age brackets just like the DMG has, and then you got your ability scores, how to do them right here, and you can rock and roll with that. As we all know, Eric Boyd has a half ogre specialty priest of Heronius in my campaign, so there you go, which is really cool. I have the
Big fun.
Yep, untouched test. Yeah,
when you
cool.
want a door opener, that's where you go.
Yeah, and the stats are you can have decent stats with it, and you can really have fun with that character. But I just wanted to share with everyone another
Good
great
time.
Roger article. Yep. All right, so I got those questions caught up there. Anna, what do you got? You got something?
Now we talked so much about some of the old stuff. Now I'm kind of I was trying to see if I can order a copy of the Dangerous Journeys there. I missed that part, but were you involved with Gary anything after he left TSR or worked with him or anything?
No, nothing at all.
Yeah, we just had that question in the chat.
No, nothing at all.
That was the kind of that was okay. Yeah.
I didn't find. I reviewed a lot of Dangerous Journeys on my own, and I did not find it particularly helpful. I think it was a very rules-heavy thing. I found Epic of Earth to be invaluable, but I found the rest of it. I could take it or leave it. I didn't really care. I mean, it was a lot easier to use other campaign systems.
Yeah,
and
I saw a YouTube review of that when looked into OSR stuff, and I said, well, I can clearly see it was an insurance salesperson who wrote this adventure with all the tables and stuff, and you can tell in this day and age you don't want lots and lots and lots of tables.
No, you don't.
And so it's interesting to see that there are different perspectives of it. And I like more streamlined rules that if you learn the rules, you don't have to look up weird odd tables. And that was, but it was part of the fun in some ways to have weird old tables. So I can totally see that can be part of how you like a game, so to speak, and why you like a game, and also a reason of why you don't like a game. So in that sense, we live in the best of worlds because now there's so many variations and flavors of fantasy role play that you can, whatever you like, you can even make your own. You can take one and tweak it into your own version, so to speak.
Yeah, they before Dangerous Journeys came out, it was kind of the epitome of the mini table, long to roll up character games. I was in several campaigns where Fantasy Games Unlimited or some FGU used to do like space opera, where it took you an entire 2 sessions, maybe 3, to roll up a character, and you'd have to go through this, and you'd have to go through that. There were so many. Yeah, they're having a parade in front of me right now.
Oh, it's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah, but you would roll up for days, and have whole game sessions where you would sit around, eat pizza and popcorn, and do nothing but roll dice. Trying to make your character, and then when you got done, you didn't know what to do with it. So that was the fun.
But there were whole systems there, and Traveler had some of that too. That with all the expansions and stuff, you could spend literally 4 or 5 hours just rolling on tables just to see if you survived or if you got the pension and stuff. So
the death part of the table was a roll bummer. That was
you
rough.
have to, Sorry.
I didn't like that.
Yeah.
No, but it was kind of a gamble, and for people who never played Traveler in the early days, it was simply a gamble. You had a 4-year term, and then when you're done, and you simply got perks and skills and even access to cool stuff like spaceships and stuff at the end, and a lot of money, credits, and so you did one 4-year term. That means that you were young and vibrant, had high stats, but you had very low skills and no money, and
Yeah.
hardly no equipment. And then you can do a second term and you get more money, and your skills started to deteriorate physically and mentally, but you get more money and more cool equipment and skills to compensate. And then
Yeah.
you could take, if you really wanted to gamble, you take a third term and got like a huge spaceship, tons of money, even more skills, but you can die in the process. And then
Yes.
there were safe things you can do that didn't earn you much, but you can kind of sit in office and earn some diplomacy, but not firefighting or space adventuring and stuff. So it was
Yeah.
today. I don't think that will fly at all. Everybody wants to be a hero, but then no, you could literally die during the creation.
Yeah.
It meant you have to start over again.
My favorite character in Traveler, I know we're off track, but I had a
okay.
Varger, one of those wolf people who was
Mhm.
he had pilot 7 and shotgun 1 and no other skills. And he had deteriorated physically so far that if he got hit with a club, he would almost die.
Yep.
You know, but that was my favorite character.
If I
Yeah, and
recall, okay.
yeah. Sorry. No. Please go ahead.
If I recall in the original Traveler, there was a lot of abuse with the jack of all trades skill.
Mhm.
Like I had a
Yep.
guy who was like jack of all trades level 6.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That was it was a way of you could get like a bit of a plus on the dice on
Yeah.
anything if you had jack of all trades. And I think it was a
Yes.
scout career that got the jack of all trades and a
Yes.
couple of others. And you
Scout,
could
yes.
yeah. Mhm. And
That was
yeah,
It had
we
the
played
potential.
some Traveler up until in the early days we played some Traveler. And in the beginning I thought it was fun, but then Star Wars came out and there were no androids, no cool stuff in Traveler. It was a very hard sci-fi things that it was science based.
It's more Star Trek-y. There were very
Yeah.
few androids in
Mhm.
Star Trek.
Yeah.
You know, so until Data came around, that was years later. You know,
Yeah.
so I got some good questions here. General
Please.
questions for Roger.
Yes.
Is there something you miss most from early adventuring or gaming? And what edition do you still like? What's your favorite edition to play?
In my whole gaming experience, I've really liked Pathfinder First Edition.
Okay, well,
I have
cool.
not tried Second Edition yet, partly because I can't afford it. But we also our group broke up several years ago, so we haven't gotten back to it. But I really liked Pathfinder. It was kind of, to me, what D&D could have been.
Mhm.
I really liked it. I liked it a lot.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that just thrilled me to death.
Mhm.
The more I got into it, I had played a bit of AD&D Third Edition as playtesting when I would go back to Renton, Washington, when I would fly back there semi-annually and meet with everybody to kind of catch up on things face to face. I took part in some of the sessions, and it was very difficult for me at the beginning. But because I'd been playing things like some of the Chaosium games that had a lot of skills and things in them, I was much more accustomed to it, and so that kind of helped me out. But when I got to Pathfinder, I said, okay, they finally did it right, and all that. So I would have to say that. As far as D&D or AD&D, part of my problem, like even when I'm writing, like the stuff I'm doing for Earth Journal, part of my problem is I'm a very old school person, and that can be a real problem. You know, I've not caught up with, particularly like when they talk about the outer planes, when they talk about. It's difficult for me to write in inclusionary terms. I think you know what I'm talking about, and I want to do better at that. But that has been a difficulty for me because I have to kind of break out of my first edition AD&D shell, which is pretty deeply ingrained in me. Second edition was pretty much like first. There wasn't a lot of change. They did add some more skills into it, so I like that. But if I had to pick a TSR Wizards of the Coast game and not Pathfinder, I would say AD&D Second Edition was better for me. But it's still not well balanced. but it's familiar. If you get my drift, it's
Mhm.
a little more familiar to me.
Yeah.
Um, but I do find that mindset is can be a very difficult thing to work with sometimes, um, because I haven't kept up uh, over the years with a lot of the things going on in the gaming communities. I regret that very much. That's part of the reason I'm doing this. I do want to get more in touch with what's really happening, and as far as I'm concerned, you all are what's really happening.
Thanks.
I want to know what's going on. And I mean, I do get interested in topics like when they talk about inclusionary language. Um, I totally get that, and so that's not a problem for me. And I would prefer that.
Yeah.
But it is difficult breaking out of that mindset, particularly if
Mhm.
you get into things like, talking about how the planes have been rearranged or, crystal spheres and all that. I remember that part because they came out with Spelljammer while I was there. So that I got that, but it keeps changing so that no matter what edition of D&D you play, you're playing in a totally different environment to a certain extent. So I hope that answered the question. I would say if it was
Yeah,
my favorite game, I'd say Pathfinder first.
Yeah. Yeah.
that's cool.
I'm with you. In many ways I like to have a 5e with more Pathfinder flair or third edition era flair with stuff because I like the creature types and stuff that was
Yeah,
more a little bit hard coded in and I really liked a lot of those ideas. But I like how the math it works better in 5e and is clarified because it was a little
there you
bit
go.
math heavy and stuff. So in and that's what I tried to build, but in my house ruling, so to speak. But the one of the I think that the multiverse or the planner, I think it's you touch on a really good topic there, and to me it's interesting because we've got so many flavors around the theme of the multiverse and all this over the years, and
Thank you.
yeah,
Yes,
and I
that's it
think
exactly.
yeah, and I think it's so cool because nowadays you can pick and choose, cherry pick from all the stuff and then make your own version of it, so to speak. If you run homebrew, think about it. And fourth edition
Yeah,
had some cool addition. The Feywild and the Shadowfell were fourth edition cosmology added into 5e has a kind of a streamlined kind of thing, but the great wheel is kind of there, but they don't want to spell it out and detail it so much in so I kind of like it. And Pathfinder they kept you can tell that Golarion has inherited the planar cosmology
yes,
from D&D
yes,
to early days in large extent. So now you have a lot of flavor and you can pick and choose. You can, if you don't want the astral part, you can or don't like the Fey, skip it
yeah,
and or add it or overemphasize. I want a lot of Fey, make Feywild more important in your cosmology.
exactly,
And yeah. So so
exactly.
so yeah.
What I'm sorry, I'm going to break into a
No,
story. I
please.
No,
Yeah.
apologize.
please, let's
No,
Um,
do it.
please.
a guy I worked with at TSR, John Pickens, a great man, actually a very clever person. He paid attention to things that some of us didn't, and he came up with a theory he called game drift. And it was how the rules, as your game advances, it is going through new successions of rules and things like that. You get game drift where certain parts of the rules don't catch up with the others. He pointed out how a heavy warhorse in the beginning in Dungeons and Dragons could carry a fully armored knight,
Hmm.
but later on could not because it exceeded the weight limit for the horse, which had not been kept up, if you get my drift,
Hmm.
and everything, so that you could be a fully armored knight and you couldn't ride anything
Yep.
because they could only carry several so many 100 pounds of stuff, and you were over that limit. But with the planes, there's been a tremendous amount of game drift. And one thing to bring it back to a Greyhawk topic, a Greyhawk thing, uh, some of the monsters that were introduced for Greyhawk, like the Darrow, which was originally from the old Richard Shaver stories of Dero, Dero, instead of the Derro. Uh, the Darrow, the evil dwarfs of Greyhawk at beginning. Uh, they drifted a lot. I mean, I became interested in that because I did a article on legacies of the Sewell Imperium for Dragon Magazine, where I talked about 5 new player characters you could use that were human descended and had been corrupted by the Sewell Imperium. One of them was Darrow, if you wanted to play like a non-chaotic evil, Darrow, who was, kind of an outcast of society and all that. I remember when I wrote that, I went through a lot of stuff. And even in the short time, up to that point when I wrote it about in the late 1990s, there had been a lot of change going on, between the different editions. They started off as psionic. The psionics got taken off of them. They started off as, they became spellcasters as the different editions of D&D went through, and then that kind of changed and everything. I mean, it's very difficult to figure out, that one particular article of the legacies of the Sewell Imperium, I really tried to make them very, very Greyhawk specific. And I had to really tie it all into the mythology and all that kind of thing. But there had been a lot of game drift and has been a lot since then. So,
My game is game drift. I mean, the game evolved. The game evolves, right? We make changes to this day, and it's not a bad thing. It's not. I know what you're saying.
And it becomes like cultural expressions, meaning they shift, get on new meaning, they merge, they split, and
exactly.
And it's to me, I love it in a lot of ways, but I can understand it must be, and it's kind of interesting because us three, we are the first generation gamers almost. We've been there almost since it came out early on. So we only had, I only had like 5 or 6 years of gaming history to catch up on and learn. I was like 5 years after it came out, 5 or 6 years, something. So roughly a decade to catch up and to study in order to understand what it was all about. But today it must be difficult, meaning someone who gets into gaming today have half a century of stuff to get in if they really want to dig deep, so to speak. So I can understand if they want to skip and just take it at face value and just use it, so to speak.
Yeah, coming up with Greyhawk stuff, you have to go through that half century. You have to go through to the very beginning and say what was done on Greyhawk with this particular monster, and then follow its evolution through every other game system, as they spread all over the place, and then kind of run it all the way back and say, okay, here's what I think a Greyhawk X is.
And I also think that that's one role that especially people like you, Rod, you could fill, because you've been there. You were inside when a lot of it happened and stuff, and you can reflect on these things now and see perspectives of it that me, who just been a fan and only started to get a bit on the inside in the RP industry the last decade and spend it from the sidelines, so to speak, and down in the trenches and not on the inside for most of my gaming career. But so it's really important to get, meaning you are part of the outfit that made this happen, and it's so cool that you can put in reflections of what happened since the early days until now. So anyone who wants to, just like John Peters and all the people that are writing these books, like Ben Riggs and others, you can get it both from the business side of it, but also from the content side, how things have evolved, what were the considerations, the inspiration, and the offshoots. So you can put things in perspective when you want to play with it, so to speak.
Tough thing. That's a tough thing. Your perspective is going to come at a cost, which is you're going to have to do a lot of research, and it's going to be expensive unless you're able to pull it offline somewhere. It's going to be costly. I'm done with my little rant.
No,
but I think it's good. And thankfully now we have lots of people in the D&D community and in the Greyhawk community, from bloggers and others like Dan Boggs, who's working on Blackmore stuff and digging through all the history and stuff. We had Jason Savoda did a lot of stuff to simply go through all the facts and present it and jot it down and read through the stuff, and so we have so many other bloggers that take on and condense some of the history and the facts into more kind of, if you just want to read through. I read Scott McMillan's history on that I'm working on right now on the Great Kingdom, and he put together fantastic. So there's so many cool attempts and effort going into to condense it,
Thanks,
explain
Johnny Crew.
it, nuance
Maria,
it,
everyone.
and look at it from various angles. And yeah, so for me, it's invaluable. It's so much fun. It's inspiring and explanatory at the same time.
So all the Blue Box people that came in and were watching the shows today, we got 5 giveaways for the 5-year anniversary stream here. So, and some of them are really great from Cholar Games, all 5. So please come in and enjoy. Got Roger Moore, legend here, and Anna Meyer, and we're just having a nice chat tonight.
Yeah.
So one question that came way back. Well, Varl says, Roger, I miss your Dragon editorials. I think everyone does there, Varl.
Yep.
Absolutely. Who's your favorite DM? Who?
Wow.
And if you want to
I've had a few of them.
Okay.
I've had a number of favorite DMs. I very much miss the guy who ran the Pathfinder game for us until a few years ago and everything. He was quite clever. He had good stuff. Of the older days, Jim Ward was always fun. I opened the door. You're dead. He would roll the dice. You had to understand. He would roll the dice. He wouldn't even look at the dice, and he would say, "You're dead." You know, and it would look you right in the face, and he would say, "You're dead," and you were dead. You know, I mean, what could you do? There was nothing you could do. You know, and I mean, Jim Ward was always good. I remember the guy I wrote about in Tucker's Kobolds, whose name was Tucker. He was a soldier at Fort Bragg, where I started playing Dungeons and Dragons back in the late 70s. He was really devious. He was very devious, but and you know, some of the dungeons we were in were really tough. But you know, his kobolds were my favorite. I learned a lot from his kobolds.
Cool.
I had a lot of friends of mine. Mark Cockrell, John Helly, Tom Armstrong, just a bunch of guys. I was Michael, Mike Williams, just a lot of people who I gamed with in the Army who were extremely good, and that was actually where I kind of got my education, you know, in being a good dungeon master and learning as much as I did about the game. I would have to say the guys from, you know, the Army, we played at different barracks over in Germany, West Germany, when there used to be a West Germany, at you know, the Sullivan Caserne, or at no, Sullivan Barracks, where I was stationed, or different other casernes and everything. So I'd have to say them. Yeah. I owe them pretty much everything.
And speaking of that, Antiquitous asked a question a while back. Military and your psych background, that crept into your writing to this day still?
Yeah. Not particularly lately, because most of what I do now is statistical. It has been for some years now. A lot of what I do is statistical writing, calculation, and everything, statistical reports. But early on, when I was actually seeing clients and everything, I would have to say that did have something to do with it. I was studying abnormal psychology, classes I've had on it, and books I've read about it. Really kind of clarified a lot of trying to add personality to articles in general, but, you know, and particularly to characters or character species, races, and everything like that, and trying to make them sensible, I would have to say, you know, something where they weren't, you know, kind of just popped out of nothing, you know, but actually would make sense. Yeah. So, like the gnomish point of view you've got up there, you know, I had to think about like what their perspective might be on things.
They're all fantastic. And by the way, if you have, and I gave out for that 10, was we passed 10,000 followers, that last and final Best of the Dragon Volume 3. So I actually gave out 11 of them over the 10. Every time we went over 1,000, and all those demi-human points of view are in those books. So it's a great best. That's one of the reasons why it's one of the best. Best of the Dragons to get.
Yeah, and I think this kind of I would say, what's the word? It illuminates the what we can take in. The RPG is such a wonderful hobby, fantasy role playing and role playing in general, where you can take other experiences in life and use them in order to make your games better. And that's why
Yeah.
it's so cool that we have such a diverse background. People come from all walks of life and so on, and they bring different aspects into it. Some people are fantastic writers, other people know medieval history, like
Yes.
so on.
Oh, yeah.
People lore, people are interested in real world, like old folklore, and they really dig deep into it. I try to take cartography and that part aspect
Yes.
into it and stuff. And it's cool when we use our other experiences in life to enhance our games and content. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It helps a lot. I agree. Agree.
So another great Alex question is, as a former SFFA member, any recommended reading that we could associate with D&D Greyhawk or current works you were reading, literature-wise?
Oh, good.
That's
Yeah.
a good question.
That's actually a really good question. And to my regret, I have fallen out of reading a lot of science fiction and fantasy that has been recent. And a lot of it wouldn't have very much to do with Dungeons and Dragons or Greyhawk and everything. There's a Chinese novel trilogy, The Three Body Problem, that came out that I was extremely interested in once I started reading about it. I haven't read the series, but somebody was doing some, next level thinking when they went into this one and really produced an amazing thing. It's where that dark forest theory goes, so that we would not contact another alien civilization
Yep.
because they might kill us,
Mhm.
and everybody laughs and you said, no, they might kill us, and you make the point. Yeah, I won't go into the whole, theory and everything, but they make an excellent point, and it's a little disconcerting. So, so there's a lot of really good stuff out. I am sorry to say that a lot of my science fiction and fantasy reading stopped about the time Octavia Butler started writing and being published, and I really wish I had read more of her. That would have been a good thing. I could still take care of that and everything, but it would have helped a lot if I'd done that from an earlier time. And so that I kind of use Octavia Butler as the dating the time when I had generally stopped because I was getting into other things, and I didn't have so much time, free time for reading and everything, which I really regret now. But I would say, wow, I don't know. Most of the stuff, again, because I'm an old school gamer, is very old school stuff. It's Lord of the Rings, Conan, and all that kind of thing. I would say particularly Lord of the Rings, because it was such a deeply developed world and
Oh yeah.
background and mythology and everything that it's just worth getting into. So
And
I
you
was
can.
good. Oh, sorry, go on.
I was gonna say you can see it in early D&D, all the
oh yeah, I mean there have been people who
treants.
said that Dungeons and Dragons didn't know anything to other stuff. Well, no, that's only said for legal reasons. No, but no, I mean there's a massive amount of stuff, even things that people don't think of. Poul Anderson's novel Three Hearts and Three Lions, for example, provided the role models for the paladin, the forest gnome, the green skin troll,
Oh, I didn't know that was a
just
troll. Wow.
swan maze.
Oh
I mean,
wow.
yeah, and one of the alternate planes that you can go to in the Demon Web Pits, Kyre City. I mean, it just goes on and on. That novel had everything.
I
I
did
mean,
not know that. I know about Swan Maze. Wow, that's cool.
no, I mean,
Yeah.
it had that particular book was, massively purloined.
Appendix N.
So,
Yeah, Appendix N's like the be all end all of where there's a lot of great writing references in there.
oh yeah,
A
yeah.
question. Go ahead.
New stuff I've tried. No, I'm not the person to ask.
Yep.
I go to somebody smarter.
Yeah, Appendix
Kinda
N in the original first edition
Dungeon Master's
Dungeon
Guide.
Magus. Yeah, it's really it's great. There you have a lot of references that are good. But I was thinking
cool.
these
There it
days,
is.
if you want contemporary inspiration for both your sci-fi game, but also aspects of fantasy, look at the debate about artificial intelligence going on right now. There is some really interesting thinkers, and I read both The Economist. I listened to various interesting seminars and stuff that have been aired on the current perceived or real or whatever, because we don't know yet, dangers and complications and stuff with artificial
Well said.
intelligence. And
Yes.
think about the dragon orbs and other intelligent weapons and super intelligent items and stuff, or think about them as dragon intelligence or other intelligent monsters, and take inspiration from this debate and what they say, and then use that for your super smart villains in fantasy, and you have some really good world building material in those debates, so to speak, and yeah.
It's very cool. Did you ever, a question was up, did you ever play Starfinder, because you like Pathfinder so much, or just
Starfinder?
which is the sci-fi version of Pathfinder?
No.
No, okay.
No. Don't have the money.
Yeah. And Traveler was where it was at for you for that, right?
Traveler was cheap and easy to get into, but yeah, that Traveler was really my science fiction thing. I didn't even play Star Frontiers. It was pretty much Traveler all the way. That Gamma World.
Oh, okay. How about Boot Hill? Any Boot Hill out there?
I didn't play Boot Hill, but I did once. I take it back. I did once. We'll see.
Gamma World had some potential.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All of that's gone back to Jim Ward now. So.
Yeah, absolutely. We played, and I'd love to get a game together. We played Aftermath a lot, right, Tim? That's post-apocalyptic on the realm of it's much more Gamma World is a lot of different monster types.
Wahoo!
Yeah.
To me, I'm so glad that I didn't find a sci-fi game I really liked back then, because I was so keen on sci-fi and stuff in early day before fantasy. But then, thankfully, there was no sci-fi game I really liked, so that's why D&D and fantasy was kind of my second choice in the first couple of years, but then I fell in love with fantasy, and so I'm so glad in a way that I didn't find the perfect sci-fi space opera something, because if something like Starfinder would have been around when I was 16, I would have loved that way more than fantasy, I think. But thankfully it wasn't around, so now it took a while to digest fantasy, but once I really got into it, now I love it way more than any other things, so to speak. So when it comes to my role-playing games.
Yeah, or not just the face, but or in the other place, Tim, with Aftermath. That's a fun game. Look, throughout all the years, we didn't just stuck with D&D. You all know that because I play BattleTech and live stream that now. MechWarrior, we've always played that, going back to the 90s. But we dabbled in Aftermath, Shadowrun for a short amount of time. I really I just didn't like Shadowrun at all. But Aftermath was a game that Tim got us into, and I don't think there was any others. I mean, Divine Right board game you could make a D&D game out of that entire campaign setting in Divine Right, and another wonderful thing. That was awesome too. Yeah, I just we were in a six-sided the first edition. Barry was no Car Wars. Oh my gosh, yeah, that game's still produced, isn't it?
Yeah,
Car Wars is still produced to this day.
Yeah.
I remember Warren Spector. I think he was one of the Car Wars people. He was from Steve Jackson games, and he came to work at TSR. He came into work one day and said, "I just played Car Wars 3D." He'd gotten in a car wreck. Yeah, everything. Yeah, he was okay, but he was all right, but his car was not okay. So
yeah, but that was the fun way of saying I had a car crash.
I played Car Wars 3D.
Yeah,
that was your key phrase for I've had an accident.
Yeah. But I also think in that sense, meaning when you go back to the 70s and early 80s, up until the early 90s, there were no real cool video games that were advanced. So there was a lot of more action-packed role-playing games that in this day and age will probably play out better in the computer world, so to speak, rather than so I can understand why today's role-playing games are heavier on role-playing, storytelling, character development, and the psychological social side of it, rather than simulating action, moving tokens around as much as possible, because that's something you can do on a computer if you really want to dig deep to it. So what do you think of? Is that something you kind of experience too, that you kind of took some interest and took it online, or do you still play or decide to play the same way?
I have to play tabletop face to face.
Mm-hmm.
I was at Margaret Weiss's house once, and she wanted me to play. What was the game with the Babelfish? Uh, uh,
Hitchhikers.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
This was the earliest version of the game when it was strictly text, and I could not get my way out of a 10 by 10-foot room. And
Oh,
I
you
just
mean
did not.
Infocom's game.
Yes.
Like Zork.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly,
man. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do it, and I
Yeah, it
never
was-
got into it again. And this was in like the 1980s, and I never got into it again. And I can't play computer-based games. I mean, I know everybody else. My kids play computer-based role-playing games and everything like that, but I've never been able to do that. It
Yeah.
just doesn't work. I have to see you
Mhm.
to do the game and everything.
Yeah.
I have to see you and interact and eat pizza and popcorn and junk food
Mhm.
and everything like that in order to make it work. Otherwise, it
Yeah.
doesn't work for me. So
Mhm.
no, yeah,
I mean, for me,
I can't do.
it's okay. I mean, for me in that era, early on, like I said, Wasteland was the game, man. That's what got me. That's why I liked Aftermath so much. Was like this was almost the same game, and then you had Bard's Tale, you had Wizardry, you had all those early ones. So mixing Cyberpunk and BattleTech or AD&D and Supers. Did you ever do any of that, Roger? Mix any of the game systems?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I did a very
There you
bad
go.
thing once.
Oh, let's
Uh-oh.
hear it.
Yes.
I
Good
did a very
question,
bad
Pat.
thing once. Yeah, this was with after I got out of the army. I was with a gaming group in Louisville, Kentucky, and I had uh, a lot of people wanted to take their AD&D characters and go to Traveler and take over a starship, of course. And I led on to a couple of people that I was going to do that. I was going to, have them jump and, cross planes and wind up in a starship and everything. But what I did instead was I contacted a guy who wasn't currently playing, and I said, "Would you get back into the game for me? I need you for you to play an NPC, and you play one of your old player characters from a Call of Cthulhu game." And what happened was, as the characters all went to a sage's house where he had just discovered a well of many worlds and he wanted to test it out, would everybody please jump in? So they all jumped in, and all of their weapons, armor, and magic came back out, but not them. And they went to Bunnies and Burrows, where I had gotten a copy of everyone's player character beforehand, and I'd converted it over into the equivalent class in Bunnies and Burrows, and I'd even had the little miniatures painted up. I think I
Oh
still
my
got one or two.
Oh, that's so
They
cute.
the old I can't remember what company used to do them, but they had all the Bunnies and Burrows characters, and I painted them up according to their hair color. If like the dwarf with white hair had a white rabbit and everything, and they all the equivalent. I think there was
Oh, that's
Mav,
cruel, cute, and
and
wonderful at the
then
same time.
it was very wicked and then I put them in a Call of Cthulhu scenario.
Oh.
They went to a haunted house that they had already been to, and some of the group members, and they knew this was not a place they ever wanted to go back to again because they didn't do very well the first time. So the rabbits were given a quest by the rabbit chieftain. The characters were all like, "What did you do to me?" And I said, "Well, now the rabbit chieftain is saying, now there's going to be a great time of devastation coming. You have to go get the artifact of the rabbit people out of this old house." And they all went into the old house where the guy who played the Call of Cthulhu character, who had gone insane, and was armed with a shotgun, was hiding out in the house and everything like that, and thinking crazy things are going to happen. And so we role played out a scenario where a rabbit walking on its two back feet would, like, as it used to do as a dwarf, would come into the house, kind of sneak up against the walls going, "What is going on here? Why am I having to do this?" And the crazy guy with a gun sees him and goes, "What?" And then you have to role play out getting the guy with the gun not to kill all the rabbit characters and to work with them to try and get the rabbit artifact so that the rabbit people survive the oncoming apocalypse and everything like that. So then they have to fight rats that are all worshiping Cthulhu, and it was just it was a very sad state of affairs for everybody but me. I had a good time.
How many of them survived it?
Awesome.
The majority.
Okay.
The majority. There was. I'll say that.
Cthulhu Elmer Fudd. That's awesome.
Yeah. Jay, now you know what to do for your thousandth anniversary. Something
There
take
you
them
go.
on a crazy
No.
journey. Yeah.
Yeah, just lie. Just lie to everybody. Oh, it's going to be
Mhm.
like this. It'll be wonderful.
Yep.
And just lie.
Would you ever
Yep.
do anything like that again as a follow up? That's a question. Yeah.
In a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
Pat.
Mhm.
In a heartbeat.
Mhm.
No, no,
So-
no mercy. Just,
Yep.
it's all in the name of good fun.
Mhm.
So
Now you inspired me to do dirty deeds on my players. That's horrible. That
there
sounds
we go.
awesome.
Okay.
That was a fantastic idea.
I'm
I
gonna.
need to dig out. I don't see if I can. Yeah, get the bunnies
Yeah.
and burrows.
Do bad things.
Yep.
Do bad things.
Al-
And just
Al-
tell them
yeah.
it's
Oh,
tell them
man.
it builds character.
That is.
Oh yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm gonna get to Moki's first, then Alex's, because I think I know the answer to this one. Why didn't Birthright become adopted as a setting? Because it was too late. I mean, it was too late for TSR at that point. It got published and it had good sales, but right, it pumped up a little bit on the other ones, but it was just too late in the
Oh,
timeline.
Birthright. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was too late.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
it. Birthright fascinated the crap out of me. I really
Yeah.
dug Birthright.
Yeah.
And I did not get to play in too many test games of it and everything, but I did participate in one of their everybody, make a move at lunchtime kind of game and everything where they would post
Mhm.
stuff and everything.
Yeah.
It was awesome. That was a very nice game system.
It's kind of interesting. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go on.
No.
I was going to say it's interesting when you took the game, the world building aspect of and ran with it in a way that hasn't been done in previously, and I really like that aspect in D&D. They kind of concentrated on an aspect that had been overlooked in earlier products, so to speak, and yeah, that was really cool. Yeah.
I was really taken. I think that was one of Richard Baker's ideas. It was brilliant. It was just so much fun. That actually was we used to have these days, we call them blue sky days, where you would talk about they had to come up with a new world and everybody would put in a pitch. And I mean, everybody would put in a pitch. It didn't matter who you were. You could write up a one-page synopsis of what this game world was like, and they would pile them all up, and then a small group of editors would go over it and go, I don't know, that's not too bad. And I had contributed several of those. Jeff Grubb and I actually came up with the same world by accident. We came up with worlds that you could not go onto the land anymore, that the earth itself below a certain altitude was contaminated, so everybody was living on mountaintops. And then they had developed sky ships, and they would sail from over the clouds, from one one mountaintop colony to the other all across the world and everything. So that idea, so Jeff Grubb and I came up with the same thing. It was a lot of fun. But you would just blue sky everything. You would just talk wildly about, I don't know, just make up a thing. That's where not only Birthright, but Dark Sun came from that. A session like that.
Medcamp says that did they push Bloodstone over Birthright? I don't know if that's one has
Bloodstone.
Yeah, I don't know if anything one has anything to do with the other. No.
No.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. I didn't think so.
No, the only problem with Birthright was that it came out too late.
Yeah.
TSR was already heading up toward its final stages, and there wasn't anything that could be done. It was a great game, and I really wish some form of it could come back. It was an awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and they're still they're expensive, but the box set and some adventures are out there still. Yeah. Super expensive because they're so free published.
I think you can get them PDF through like Drive-Through RPG. I would try that first. I haven't looked for that particular thing, but that would be, I mean, oh my God, I know those are super rare now. I think the term birthright's also been appropriated over by the, the questions on the abortion debate and everything like that. So that's gone off to, another thing. But the Birthright campaign was really awesome. That was a nice thing.
Here comes a question. Alex Antiquitous question. We know Jay's stance on chronomancy. Thanks, Alex. Roger also wrote one of the few available resources on chronomancy. Anything he might have done different with that one in hindsight?
The chronomancer, boy, I should check. Actually, I should check and see if that's around. Excuse me a moment.
Oh yeah, Scott, Jeff. There's a ton. We were talking about that. A lot of the articles. There's a ton of Roger Moore and Best of Dragon Volume 3. A
Yeah,
ton.
I wrote up a supplement that was like how Chronomancer would apply to different campaign worlds that existed at TSR at the particular time that Chronomancer showed up. Um, Chronomancer uh, is one of those things that, to me, started off in a very brilliant direction. Needed a lot of work. Needed a lot of work, but was really good. The problem with trying to do a time travel anything, I think it becomes clear that, you have to have a very well developed starting point and ending point, and any other point, in history and everything to try and make it work. And it varies wildly across the different game worlds that are set up. Um, I was very excited by Chronomancer when I believe I edited that. I didn't write it, but I believe I edited that. I was just extremely excited by it, and because it took things in a direction that had not been done before within Dungeons and Dragons, and I thought that was very, very cool. Only certain campaigns like Dragonlance had pretty well defined time travel options and everything because of the way that Margaret Tracy had set up the history of Kryn. You could actually make it work because it was very well developed at different time periods, both in the past and the future. So they had done all their homework for that. Greyhawk, much more difficult, much more difficult. You'd have to do a tremendous amount of legwork to get back to the early years of the Great Kingdom, that kind of thing, or the Sul Imperium, God forbid. I mean, that would take a
For
lot of
sure.
work.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work, and
Mhm.
having the campaign world to run it from is the real trick, and that's where a lot of your problems are going to come in. But Chronomancer was a very exciting product, and I would really like to see it develop further somewhere. But how to do it, that's going to be tough. That's going to be real tough. I mean, if it's in Earth history, even in Earth history, it's tough. I saw time travel games from Pace Setter Games.
Mhm.
That was a very long time ago. Wow, that was a long time ago. And even then, uh, it had its drawbacks. It's just a very tricky thing to work with.
I,
So,
I'm confused on maybe I'm just ignorant. I'm confused on how they do time travel in Dragonlance. How's that
well,
work?
well, Margaret and Tracy had written like all these different novels about that take place at different points in
Okay.
the past or future of the world of Kryn and everything, all the way back in the earliest years. And a lot of the other authors, Richard Dack and everybody else, had thrown in their own stuff. Um, uh, they went through in the writings of what Margaret and Tracy in particular did. There were different stages in the world of Kryn, like when all of a sudden all the current pantheon of gods was wiped off, just like that, and thrown out, and it went into an age of non-magic, and then it went, then it kind of came back. I mean,
Okay.
the whole big, it would change with new game systems and everything, but it would change with all the time. So in a way, it had a better developed past and future than other games did because it progressed radically,
Okay.
from one phase to the next. I I can't pick out too many different
No.
things. I know that at one point, I think Karaman went back into the past, the far past, and was fighting in arenas and things like this, so that there was a better sense of like what actually went on in the earlier years.
Yeah, Greyhawk lacks that.
I'm sorry?
Greyhawk lacks that completely.
No, the Greyhawk does lack that, and that's kind of sad. I mean, I think that a game product that had fully developed, like the Great Kingdom at its beginning or its first 50 years or something like that, would have really helped. But Greyhawk wasn't structured to do that. Greyhawk was structured to be more in the here and now,
Mhm.
and which is fine. But I mean, that works
Yes.
perfectly well. It's got a past, and it's got a past history that's really well worked out, but it doesn't pull together like it does in other places. You need a lot of you need to do a lot of research and legwork to build up, even a 100-year difference in say Nyrond or something
It
like
sounds
that.
Yeah.
pretty ingenious what they did with Dragonlance. I'm gonna say, are you friends with either of them to this day, Weiss and
Margaret
Hickman?
and Tracy. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah, I saw Margaret quite a lot when I was at GaryCon. We used to work together. I mean, in separate sections, but in cubes adjacent to each
Mhm.
other, and everything. She and I and one of the fiction editors, Patrick Price, used to have a coffee clutch in the morning. We would sit around and talk about stuff in the 1980s, before we got on to work and everything. So that was kind of nice. But
Wonderful.
oh yeah, I know Margaret and her daughter really well. They're wonderful people,
Mar-
and we keep in
Mhm.
touch on Facebook all the time.
Margaret has declined to come on the show multiple times, so I'm just maybe I can get her to come on with you.
Yeah, yeah.
That'd be cool because we'd love to get a perspective because it's just to hear others. We got Ed on. We'd love to get the Dragonlance people on at some point.
Mhm.
So we got some. You weren't involved in Living Greyhawk at all, correct? Because you were gone in 2000. You didn't play in it or anything like that, right?
No,
Yeah.
after what happened, I was let go. And the story is, I best I understand it, Hasbro got involved in Star Wars, of course, and they made all these little figures and they sold really good. And then they did, like for the new series, the new trilogy, didn't sell very well. And Hasbro had made a butt ton of them, and they had
Uh-oh.
too many. And yeah, and so they needed to, there was some talk that they needed to prevent a hostile takeover from another game company. I don't think it wasn't Barbie or anything, but it was some other
Mattel.
game company.
Like
And what they had to
Mattel or
do,
one of the big ones
yeah,
or something. Yeah.
they had to basically do, they had to take a loss and make themselves look very unattractive. And at that point, a lot of stuff went, and that was in December of 2000. And I remember getting the phone call and that day, and they said, "I'm sorry, I'm going to have to let you go." I didn't blame them. I wasn't angry about it. I mean, I was very sad,
Mhm.
and it really hurt. I felt like, all those years it came down to a phone call and everything. But I had survived a lot of purges. I mean,
Yeah.
I had survived many layoffs, and I mean a lot.
It was like
And
a yearly thing in December, or was it like or something they did
it
a
was it
yearly
was
purge?
monthly. For in the
Monthly.
early years
Wow.
in the 1980s, and from the time I got on in May of 1983 until maybe 1988, there was at least five or six. I mean, there was a
Mhm.
lot. They would come at random times. You just never had
Yeah.
no warning at all. It was pretty terrible.
That's a shame.
Horrible time. You get a phone call, come down to the main office, and see us, and then you're on your way out. That was it.
Wow.
So when I was like, oh, I wasn't upset with TSR, Hasbro, or Wizards of the Coast. I mean, I wanted to be friends with all of them. They were pretty cool people. So,
Mhm.
um, but no, that was it. My youngest son cried because he couldn't get any more Pokemon cards, and it was a
That's a
great
shame.
it was a
That's a
family
shame.
tragedy, but
Mhm.
we made it through. But
Yeah.
yeah, but I did not play in any campaigns for many years. I actually sold, gave away, or threw out most of my, almost all of my role-playing collection. I had a monster role-play collection. I had a lot of stuff. I really wish I hadn't done it for everything. Some of the stuff I don't think I needed, but a lot of it I really wish I'd kept. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
it's a shame.
it's nothing you can do. That's the way it goes.
Mhm.
So, last question I'm going to take here is from Alex, and this is a little deep. As a consultant for the Scarlet Brotherhood, and which Sean Reynolds did you find yourself occasionally questioning how closely they relate to real world figures, or was the thought, what better opponents than those we have in real world reference? Hmm.
I'm going to be very careful with that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say I didn't have any problem with it. I mean, the Scarlet Brotherhood is pretty obviously a white supremacist neo-Nazi group. I
Mhm.
mean, what are you going to do? I mean,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
call it what it is.
Yeah.
No one's going to sue me. But that was really what it was, and it was there just the same reason that they put Nazis in Indiana Jones movies.
Mhm.
Yeah. Good.
You
Because
want
they are
some
bad
Bad
guys. So
guys.
yeah. Mhm.
Thank you. They want
Evil.
Yeah.
somebody to punch,
Yeah. And
and who better than a Nazi, so
well, and yeah, I agree with you. Meaning, I like to have bad guys doing bad stuff in games, but they should be portrayed as bad. bad
Yes.
people doing bad stuff, so to speak. And if you
Yeah.
have evil, then let them do evil things. But yeah, I'm more. What I have a problem with is when you have things like slavery and stuff just being there without being portrayed as evil or bad, so to speak. That's when I have
Mhm.
a problem with it. Yeah.
Yeah. I like situations sometimes that draw in you start wandering around in the moral grayness of things like
Hmm.
that. You can end slavery, but all of a sudden you have no way of producing anything, and then so do you keep it or do you get rid of it and then try to hire people? They don't have any money to hire people. So
Hmm.
yeah, you really get to the point where you start to choke on it a little bit because it's like
Hmm.
I don't know what to do. I
Yeah.
want to do the right thing,
Hmm.
but you know, when you have somebody that's painted in a pretty black and white thing like the Scarlet Brotherhood, then you don't get a lot of that moral grayness. It's like, oh, bang, okay,
Yeah.
we got rid of that problem. Okay,
Hmm.
so what else are we going to do? But it's better. I have some question like in whether in gaming, having moral grayness is a good thing or a bad thing. A lot of things in life are kind of gray. You really, I don't have any opinion one way or the other about it. Some things are, pretty laid out. I know what the right thing to do is, but
Yeah.
uh, and I think in role playing, it's better to have that kind of black and white kind of thing where it's pretty straightforward as to what you should do.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot, even though, you know, you can have some fun with the other end of it too. But I think that it's better if you know who the bad guys are
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you don't
I
get to a point where you say, I can't get rid of the bad guys because it'll wreck things. Well, no, you have to get rid of the bad guys.
Yeah. I can see that's a good point, and I can see two good reasons for keeping the gray in, apart from the pun of Greyhawk meaning gray, but to keep that ambiguous. Two reasons. One is that you want to have kind of the player should not always know who the bad guy is, so to speak. It's a good
Yes,
plot point to have. That's one
yes,
reason. and
thank
and
you.
the other reason I can see, depending on what your purpose of your game, so to speak, and the interest of your game group, which is really, really important. But I think it's also part of using role-playing games to teach about how the world functions a little bit, and get people and players and stuff interested in how the world works. There you can have morally ambiguous creatures and like mayors who are a little bit corrupt, and
Of
and and
course.
and, and turncoats, and people who pay homage involuntarily by being stupid or scared or whatever.
Yeah,
And yeah, so they are. I can see uses for it, but I can also see that complicates the game, and sometimes you don't want to complicate the game. You
no,
want to
that's
tell the
exactly
play.
right.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
excellent,
Yep.
excellent. Yes, I mean, like in the very beginning, Gary Gygax
Yeah.
put half orcs into the game.
Mm-hmm.
Very gray area. When you start digging
Mm-hmm.
into it, where do they come
Yep.
from? Well, I don't want to go there,
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
okay, but moral ambiguity was like introduced from the very start.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a whole lot. I mean, in the original D&D game, I would say no, but as AD&D got going, there was a certain. I'd say you have to judge the game you want to have.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yep.
that. Um, there's certain amounts of moral ambiguity where if you're not fighting really really bad people, or if it's like, well, that's just an opinion and okay, I can live with that, or something like
Yep.
that, then that's fine,
Mm-hmm.
but I think there are
Yep.
certain points where you got to go, whoops. Actually, a guy I ran into trouble in that in a role playing I was in one time where uh, we met a villain where he had tried to kill two of the NPCs we'd been trying to protect, and I went and killed him. My character went and killed him and got punished by the rest of the group because they didn't want me to kill the bad guy. And I said, I'm sorry, the guy's going down. There's not nothing I'm going to do about it. So I had to accept my lumps and say, okay, so my character got put in jail and then killed, and all that. But
Well, it's like my campaign. It's all based on the order of your like good versus evil. There's room for gray ambiguity in there with certain
Mm-hmm.
groups, adventurers, right? Bounty Hunters Guild, whatever. There's room for grayness inside a good versus evil campaign because you always have the anti-heroes too.
yeah,
It's part of the story.
yeah.
So
Yeah, you have to judge your audience.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And would the meaning do you if you run a game for 10-year-olds, then you have to have this very different if you run a game for
Sure.
35, 40-year-olds who have played too long and seen it all and God forbid people in their 50s and 60s and stuff who play too long and we've done it. Then
Played
you have
too long.
yeah.
I love
Yeah.
the way you said that. That was
Yeah.
exactly right.
Yeah, it takes a different take, and meaning I had a game group of people who were political science were like everybody had like at least a bachelor in and stuff. So they wanted to know. Okay, so that was it's funny. I introduced a mayor, and they were like, oh, what's the governing situation in your city? Was one of the players asked me, and it was like, damn, I need to kind of dig out, and it was kind of tough on that, and what's the figures and stuff. So different players have different needs and desires in the game, so to speak, and that was the other extreme, meaning these were politically analysts were their day jobs, so to speak, that and what they did for a hobby was to dissect countries and how the world works, and they needed to know every nut and bolt. So that's different. And I have game groups and players who never want to hear a thing about that just like, oh, I want something to kill and I want some loot to get some loot and some cool +2 weapons instead of the +1 I have. And that's the whole purpose of the game. So
There you are.
And yeah, and that's the cool thing with role-playing games. If you cater to the group of players you have, you can dive deep into what different rabbit holes depending on the game group, so to speak, and your own interest as a DM as well.
So as we're coming up to the end here, Roger, what do you want to talk about shout out wise? What do you got doing? You want to talk about any specifics or
I would just mention again, working on 2 series of articles for Orth Journal that excuse me, Christoph Nolan is working with and everything. I'm very excited about his magazine getting started again, and going after his accident and everything. But everything's sounding very good right now, and so I'm very happy to hear about the progress with all that. But I've got a series about Gates in the world of Greyhawk, again, still going. I just did the 3rd part of that. I'm going to start talking. I was talking about going to Earth where the high technology is and some of the dangers of that. But I want to start talking about demiplanes and some of the other, basically developing more worlds for adventure. Where can you go to go have a good time in Greyhawk, and everything, if it's not on the world of Greyhawk.
Right.
Also, it avoids running into all the other people who are developing the world of Greyhawk. I'm not getting in their way. I don't want to do that. One thing I would have liked to have seen for Greyhawk is some kind of thing where they do talk about like the earlier what was I thinking about, an alternate history for Greyhawk where the Great Kingdom did not break up and actually, despite all of the bad emperors, stuck together and managed to get more good out of it than bad. I would like to have seen something and that would be a tough one to work out.
Yeah,
but
Gary
some
Hooley,
kind of an alternate wish or something.
An alternate history. An alternate history where you say, what if the Great Kingdom didn't break up? What if the Great Kingdom stayed together and actually stayed together mostly for the good?
Yeah.
So it's a mixed bag, of course, as you get with any empire, but now you've got all of these places integrated into the kingdom or deliberately not and everything like that. How does everybody get along together? I would like to have seen something that was still running on the same it's 576 CY and the Great Kingdom is doing fine.
Gary Hoolian wrote an article about what if the Death Knights won. That was a great. That is a great take. I love that article. I'm keeping that for my future campaign, so to speak, because it can still happen. They're still out there, so to speak. They can still win, maybe. Yeah. Kind of. Yeah.
Very cool. So Roger, I really appreciate some. We had to ask some really in-depth, candid questions tonight.
Yep.
Some that were, I started it off. The temple. I wouldn't change a thing about the temple myself. I love the temple, Roger.
I would change how it is below the ground, the nodes and all that crap.
I don't care about the
that I would switch all that out. But I love the upper parts of the temple and stuff.
Yeah.
But I would tie down the elemental part and the nodes and that weird crap that doesn't interest me.
Yeah, I think the thunderstorms are here, but that's okay.
Uh-oh.
Well, we're
Yep.
finishing up
No,
at a
it's no
perfect
biggie,
time,
no biggie.
So
We have we're not going to have any trouble with power interruptions. We have a backup power generator for the house. So
that's
Oh,
good.
you know,
wow.
if anything happens, we're supposed to have some pretty major thunderstorms come through about now. Yeah. So
Uh-oh.
we'll see.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, we're at perfect timing here, anyways. We're at the 2 hours here. So,
Yeah.
anything else you want to shout out, Roger, before I ask Anna what she's doing? I really appreciate you coming back.
Nope, just go straight on to Anna. That would be great with me.
This is a fun discussion tonight. It was a great
Yeah.
way to
Oh,
celebrate the
yes.
5 year
Thank you
anniversary.
very much for having me. I'm very appreciative
Sure.
of
This
this.
is fantastic.
We're gonna have other
fun.
topics on, and we'll get you on as an expert in them too. Trust me, we'll utilize, get you on more and more.
Honey, quit eating that. Sorry. Cat's eating all my wiring. Yeah, so can't have that. Can't be doing that. Go ahead.
Anna, what's going on?
Okay, I put to my top patrons, I put a sneak peek into a project that I've been thinking about for a long time, and now I got down to start doing some sketching, and that's banners and flags. So I did a first banner, what a Shieldland's banner would look like if they go into battle, so to speak. So and there was a lot of really encouraging comments and stuff. So it's good now that's going to happen, and also I'm working on the map for Blue Box for John for his Greyhawk Awakening game. That one, it's way more than halfway through now, so I've done rapid progression. So that has been keeping me really busy for the past couple of weeks. But thankfully, that is getting into the almost wrapping up process now. It's texturing and a final edit and stuff on it. So a lot of the heavy lifting is done. So unless John wants to change a lot of things, and I would not let him, then we can kind of get that one out. And then comes the big. Well, I can also say that the GIS, the first part of my GIS project is done. I geo-referenced all the existing the big Greyhawk Flanny's Hepmonaland map, and an overview map of the whole planet is geo-referenced. So I have the base now, so I can start putting all the other stuff in its place, and it's really cool. So I will do some more testing and with projections and stuff, but that is the first hurdle, so to speak, is done in the GIS project. So now comes the more fun bit with actually putting content in there. So it's that was a big thing I needed to read. I had 2 big Bibles that Troy Cannonball sent. Thankfully, I'm so thankful he sent me. That's basically half a college degree in GIS. So no, but it's a lot of work. So big. So I read through these 2 big Bibles and took some online classes and stuff in doing it the past 3 years, and so now I feel more competent knowing what I'm getting into, and especially projections and stuff. So that is now moving into more finally starting to produce something that can be visible and tangible and doing it. So doing and then I'm also planning now. It's a month from in a month I will be gone for a month to Sweden and then some other parts of Europe be away for a month. So I'm trying to figure out what I can work on a laptop and what I can do need my big rig at home, so to speak. So it will be a little bit of diversifying. So that might be a lot of my work on rules and a lot of light Photoshop editing and stuff like that. I will wait with that and sit and do that over there for a month, and then I will do some heavy lifting and some world machine work and stuff in the meantime. So and I also need to set up so I can remote into my rig here at home while I'm gone. So there will be some technical setups there. So I'm working on that too. So yep. Mm-hmm.
Excellent, Anna. All right, so this was only a 2-stream week of all the stuff going on personally, but we're back to 4 coming up this week. So let's see what we got here. Wednesday, My Greyhawk, Von Molku, Nyron. So there we go. We'll get some talk on that. So Anna, Mike, and I will be talking. It'll be our third My Greyhawk. See what's going on in Von Molku's campaign and what little tricks and stuff he has. Yes. So that'll be our third one. On our My Greyhawk on Legends and Lore. I thought it was so bad you said no more. No, no, we didn't say that. Now, what? So, oh, thanks, Patrick. Why my guys think the name Sourload is amusing? I guess because we're young and we're all still like act like kids, but it's a place on the map. Assistance to Sourload continues and finishes up adventure number 997. Now, remember, 998 is already completed. So, because it was a one-shotter on that weekend, so we're getting very, very close. That's Thursday night Reaper Miniatures giveaway. Saturday night, a BattleTech game. Don't read the contract. Tim, the ever mysterious Tim, and his son will be here. My son's playing. We got Balfrin, we got Canadian Gamer, and a couple others playing as well in that. So, yeah, that'll be a fun on the tabletop playing some MechWare BattleTech. A little special thing for next week. In the future, Nerdy Guide to D&D number 999, Saturday morning, May 20th. I think it's during Blue Box Con. My apologies. They pushed it back on me twice, actually 3 times. But it'll be a morning game. So it's at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. to probably 1 o'clock because they're all in the UK. So that'll be number 999. Yeah, we'll have that. That's coming up. There's more stuff. Number 1000 is Saturday, June 3rd, 9 a.m. and it's going to be like an 8-hour stream. I'm running my 2-Minute Lizard King adventure. Some minor changes to it, but that'll be for a group that's like 8th level. That'll be Saturday, June 3rd, 9 a.m. We start that in person. Everyone will be here. Oh, thanks, Bash. It'll be players here. A big game on June 10th. Ed Greenwood with Eric Boyd and Eric Mengi for 2-drink minimum. And then the Mandy, Myriad, Bones, and Darling from the Slav Squad in our second ever 2-group crossover game. Saturday, June 10th at 6 p.m. Yes, so that's out a couple weeks, but yeah, what a game that'll be with those 2 groups mixing together. Oh, Megalon, thanks. Thank you. I really appreciate all the support everyone has given tonight for my 5-year anniversary. But then here's something Anna doesn't even know. The night after, and remember, we talked about this on Wednesday. These are whatever night the person can do. So it is set. Our Savage Tide discussion is with James Jacobs is Saturday, June 11th. Okay, at 7 p.m. So,
oh, wow.
Yes. We'll have James on, and we'll just talk about the Savage Tide series adventure pack, the third one in the Pizalk era. Thank you, Megalon. Thank you, Shattered Saint. Really appreciate it. Yes, so that'll happen Sunday, June 11th. Remember, the Saturday after that, I am gone for my family vacation, so that's probably one of the last big things I have scheduled going all the way out. So just note that came together this morning. So we have that set on Sunday, and that's a guess. 252, I think, is the number it'll be. We're on 247 now. So, alrighty, as we got all these great the second hype train of the stream, really awesome, and for Roger to kill someone in his next game, Garner, that's funny. All right, here's the deal. We got 5 giveaways. The first person, when you win, you either tell me you want the signed Steven Schnall Player's Handbook or the $50 gift certificate. Once one of them is gone, then I'll know, unless someone doesn't want that, that's 50, 25, 15, 15. So let me, with the 5 giveaways from Troller Games. Here we go. We're going to close this out. Last call. Exclamation point drawing to get in on these 5 great giveaways. And note the codes are coming tomorrow, so I will be taking down everyone in the system. And let's see who wins these, and then we'll raid into Darling, and we'll call it a night. And Roger, thanks for coming back on, man. This was a great discussion.
Glad to do it. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Anna.
Yeah,
good to see you too. Fantastic fun.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Oh,
winner.
People.
Waltz. All right. So Colby is a winner, and I'm assuming he's gonna take a $50 GC. There we go. Colby, first winner. He's on. Second winner. Lando, do you
Oh,
want
awesome.
do you want the signed player's handbook or do you want the $25 gift certificate? Lando's a big CNC user. So Lando, I'm assuming you want the book, correct? We can keep on going here. Got you. Next winner, Cathay, $25 gift certificate. Awesome. Grats. $15 gift certificate. See, these are easy tonight. I don't have to send anything out.
Yeah.
Curtis.
Wow.
It's
Congrats.
fixed. It's fixed.
Yep.
Now, if Connecticut Gaming wins this last one, then I'll say it's fixed here. And the last one, here we go. Winner is Lorcaline, all the way overseas, but that's all right. It's a gift certificate, so we can do that.
Yep.
All right. Awesome. Sit tight, please. We're right into Darling. And hope you all have a nice week upcoming. Thank you all for a great 5-year anniversary stream. 5 years ago, I had no idea what the hell I was doing, and trust me, those streams, if you could watch a lot of them on YouTube, are very but they're there. A lot of them are there, especially the Gabbins and the Legend. Well, it's more the Gabbins because the Legends lore we picked up a couple years into it, but it's usually the Legends and lores. I'm sorry, the Gabbin shows. So yeah, where I sing, that doesn't happen that often. So thank you all. Really appreciate it. I'm going to head off here, and just remember, see you Wednesday night, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday night. It's not a morning stream for BattleTech. Wednesday night, Thursday night, Saturday night, Sunday night next week. Okay. No. You want on YouTube here? YouTube. There's my YouTube mirror. It's in there. All right, and a lot of them are in their own playlist. Gabbins, Legends and Lures, all the special Altamira adventure games of all-star players, they're in there. There's a fancy mapping show one. They're all in there. Just all the regular adventures are not in any playlists. So, yep. All righty. Everyone have a good one. Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Anna. We'll see you soon.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.
Hopefully I don't hit a wrong button here, but I will. Alrighty, great one. Another good show here. Let me set this up. Thank you for that second hype train. I really appreciate the support. You're all fantastic.
Yep.
They moved stuff around on this thing, which is great, but okay, where's the? It says I'm already rating. How's that possible?
Yeah, 91.
Yeah, but I don't.
Yep.
Oh, there it is. They moved it.
92.
Oh, 92. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See you all Wednesday. They moved it. Oh, Roger.
Gotcha. Yeah, Roger left. Yeah.
That's okay. I gotta get cat duty.
Yeah.
All right. That was cool.
Yeah.